Yo, what is going on, Papa Fam? Welcome back to the channel. It's your boy Sunny, and we are back with some generative AI bangers, guys. Your boy, if you hadn't already known, it's my third video of the week. We're on fire right now. And I'm coming up with some new energy, new mindset, everything on this channel. Guys, we're building generative AI combined with Next.js in this video. You're gonna learn about something called AI agents. AI agents, honestly, so cool. Think of all the things that we've come to know about OpenAI, all that kind of stuff. You know, you can make images with DALL-E, all that kind of stuff. Add a layer to that, and now we've got basically an AI agent who can combine all these different tools together and do its own thing, essentially autonomous, which is absolutely incredible. If you're excited for today's video, do me a favor right now. This content is free. It's gonna be timestamped. It's like 3-4 hours every time. All I ask is you smash the like button, destroy that subscribe button, and let's jump straight into a demo of this build. Welcome to the StoryTeller AI build. Let's jump into a pop fan. Boom! It's so good to be back on your screens. Let's go. All right, so here we have the StoryTeller AI. Now it's worth showing to you that everything is fully responsive. First things first, you know how we do it. I'll drop the volume a little bit down here. Now I want to show you guys something real cool. You can select how many different pages you want to go ahead and build. And in this case, what we've done is we've built a children's storyteller AI system, right? And what this does is it goes ahead and builds out a story, and based on, you know, several different pages. But here's the juicy part, right? Before I run this, I'm going to go ahead and show you essentially what is happening behind the scenes. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and see if I can actually pull this out. So think of this. This is essentially what is running right now, Storybook.gpt. And all we've done is we've gone ahead and defined a bunch of tools at the top. So you can see Story Writer, Story Illustrator. Basically, all we've said is, all right, AI, here's a bunch of tools, and I'm going to tell you what to do now. And then you need to go ahead and do it. And that includes writing to the system files. That includes using services like OpenAI, DALL-E, whatever you need to do. But I've given you the tools, and now you, my AI agent, are gonna go ahead and go build that for me. Pretty sick, pretty sick. We got Amsterdam now, so what's going on, guys? Good to see you here, international. Let me know in the comments right now before I carry on where you're watching from. Honestly, I love seeing where you guys are tuning in from. And if we broke 100 likes already. Crazy stuff. That's what I'm talking about, guys. So look at this. We've gone ahead and given it a bunch of steps. We've got a bunch of different steps here. So we've got the first little function, and then we've got these 3 lines. We've got the second function. We've gone ahead and created our own little story illustrator. And then I've said, all right, and you can also have the ability to make directories and write to things, right? So with that in mind, now let's go ahead and try this out, guys. So I'm going to say, write a story about Sunny, about a young boy, Sunny, who can fly, who learns that he can fly. Okay, and we're going to do 2 pages now. Now look at this, guys. Everything that I showed you, all of this is about to execute, right? And it's using an AI agent, and I'm going to show you how to build all this. And I'm even gone ahead and done even better, guys. I've gone ahead and built in streaming with Next.js 14, which I don't see tutorials on YouTube for. Just shouting that out right now. So your boy's coming in with the depth that isn't available on YouTube. Let's go ahead and hit generate story. Look at this, guy. AI storyteller has started. Now give it a little bit of a second. Now look at this. Boom, there you go, streaming in from our own backend. I'm gonna go ahead and zoom in so you can see that right now. Look, that's sick. That is actually sick, right? So right now, obviously you might be like, Sunny, that's we've seen this before. This is OpenAI. That's just the completion. No, it's not just the completion. That's the beginning. Look, it changes tools and it can make subcalls. Like, this is insane, right? I'm gonna go ahead and show you. Look, it goes ahead, decides that, okay, I'm going to use the story writer tool. And then after that, I'm going to go ahead and actually generate an image. So in this case, look, you can go ahead and see, we can go ahead and check in on its progress. So right now you can see it's drafting out the story, page 2. It's gone ahead and started writing it to my directory. Already, look, Sunny learns to fly. Crazy, right? And then it's gone ahead and done this. Let's go ahead and see. Generates an illustration. So it's switched tool now. So now it's generating an illustration. It's calling DALL-E image generation with the prompt. So it's figuring all this out. This is crazy. This is the next level with AI stuff. So you guys, I asked you, and it's carry on doing now, by the way. I'm not pausing it, but look, it's actually generating an image. Absolutely crazy. And then it downloads from that URL that is just gonna hand down. And guys, I have not programmed this. All I've done is given it a script, right? And this is what I'm saying. I've not seen a video like this on any channel at the moment. So this is like Next level stuff, right? Absolutely awesome. Somebody goes, can I get your course? I'm from India. My English is weak. Guys, our course is international, 0 to full stack heroes for everyone. We have loads of people from around the world inside of our course. Link to 0 to full stack heroes in the description. We teach all of this before it even touches YouTube inside the course. Look at this, guys. Goes ahead and downloads all of that. Now, writing a children, and it's just so, look. The story, Sunny Learns to Fly, has been successfully, look, we've got toast notification, Shadcn. Oh, lovely. Sunny Learns to Fly has now in our books, right? Let's go ahead and click view stories. Okay, look, we've got a bunch of beautiful books. Oof, this is nice. I like this, right? Let's go ahead and see where we've got Sunny. Where's Sunny Learns to Fly? Let's go ahead and refresh because I'm on dev right now. So we should have Sunny. Where is he? Where is he? I feel like little J and this special app. Sunny Learns to Fly. Boom, click it. Oh, now we've got a book. Oh my God, guys, come on. Like, just look at that. Look at that. That is insane, right? All from that AI agent that we just went ahead and built. I know, also, of course, I've gone ahead and made this fully responsive. Now think about that, right? Just for a second. The reason why I chose this one as a demonstration is because realistically, right, what we just did there was incredibly powerful, right? Incredibly powerful. Right now, I'll tell you what, in the comments, drop a prompt. Drop a prompt and I'll write that story right now for you and we can go ahead and test it out. Literally, I'm going to do it right now live. Somebody goes, what stack are you using for this? Yes, I'm going to break it down for you right now. The stack in this build, and I hope you guys are excited. If you are, smash that like button because this is some next level stuff that I've not yet seen on YouTube. And before we do carry on, I want to go ahead and shout out our amazing audience that are live right now. We've got Haiti, we've got USA, we've got India, Indonesia, Kenya, Brazil, Denmark. Oh, this is sick. We've got Southampton, UK, Marcel, I see you. France in the house. Alexander, what's up? Kenya, Nairobi, Iraq, Dubai. Whoa, Nigeria, Australia, Cape Town, Pune from India. Oh, Zambia. Look. International, Papa Fam's international. I swear to God, there's no community like this. It's just it's what we've crafted through love of this kind of community, right? Tunisia in the house, Cote d'Ivoire. Oh yeah, I see you guys. This is, I probably butchered a few names there, but thank you guys so much. Somebody goes, prompt Tony Boy saving the world. We could do that, all right? So I don't know, but it doesn't make sense for the prompt Tony Boy saving the world. Don't spam. Right, let's go ahead and let's just say, write a story about a developer who saves the world. Okay, so that's what one of our subscribers have gone ahead and popped in. I'm gonna do one page so it's kind of quicker. Generate the story. Now we're gonna let that do its thing. Somebody goes, that's awesome. Can it be done in French? Yep, you can modify everything. So right now, while that's streaming in, you can go ahead and modify the entire Storybook GPT to go ahead and get this working in the way we need it. Now think about it, guys. What's happening behind the scenes here? We have a Next.js 14 app, right, which is working the way we need it to. We've got Shadcn for the beautiful UI, Tailwind CSS to make everything perfect, look really nice and clean. But the thing that I haven't done here, and obviously I want to emphasize this every single time I go on stream, I am trying to focus on the depth content, right? So many videos right now on YouTube are just about the quick hits. They're very, very like, here's a 5-minute video about this, a 5-minute video about it. But I want to show you depth, the true depth. I don't care about the algorithm. I don't care about any of that stuff. All I want to go ahead and give you is the quality, the highest damn quality content. And it takes me so much energy to build these things. I'm telling you right now. So right now we've got Next.js 14. All right, look at this, guys. It's going ahead and building it out. We've got Next.js 14. We've got, I'm going to go actually, I'll tell you what I'll do. I'm going to go ahead and pop in. Let's go ahead and move this out of the way for a second. And then I'll start writing it on the right-hand side of the screen, right? So here, in this build, we're going to go ahead and break it down for you. One second. I've got Screen Brush. I need to open up my Screen Brush tool. And we're going to jump into things, right? So right now, we have Next.js 14. Okay, now obviously right now you can't see that, but we've got Next.js 14. We have tell you what, I can't actually see what my build is. We've got Shadcn. We've got streaming from Next.js 14. Streaming, I'm talking about streaming from our own API endpoint. So imagine we make our own API endpoints and we tell it to keep the connection open, and I'm teaching you how to go ahead and consume this on the client, right? So when you go ahead and create an API endpoint, so imagine we've created an API endpoint here and it's streaming the data from GPTScript to the client. How the hell do you do that? I don't see a tutorial about it. I'm going to teach you today. Right, all that stuff's happening right now. GPTScript is the magic behind this all. It's an amazing team that is working behind them. I was working very closely with them to go ahead and get this working. And yeah, this is essentially the core of what we're doing. We've got obviously things like Tailwind CSS under the hood here to get all the styling right and everything that we need. And honestly, it just goes on and on and on. Firstly, thank you so much as well for the donation. I see you. Thank you. I appreciate you. It's of course worth mentioning that we do have a couple of additional things such as caching. So we are going to be using caching in today's build. Now it's worth mentioning that if you are watching this on replay, Next.js 15 is just worth mentioning, right? Next.js 15 opts out of caching by default. So in this case, that's what we wanted from day one, and they've realized that. But Next.js 13, 14 all opt into caching by default. It kind of confused everyone. So Next.js 15, if you're watching the replay of this, there'll be a slight change on the caching part, but I've got you covered. I'm going to drop a video on that as well. So you can go ahead and watch that right now. Pop up probably around the screen somewhere. We'll get Jay to go ahead and add that in afterwards, right? And of course, what we're going to be building for the first time ever, guys, is a AI agent, essentially, right? So what you saw right there, that is running everything behind the scenes, AI agent. And as you can see here, Alex, the developer, saves the world. Let's go ahead and check out the story. And let's go ahead and see. Alex, the developer, saves the world. Just click on that. And boom, look at that. I mean, come on, look, they even got the code in right. That's sick, right? That's absolutely sick. And I've even got little styling tricks here. First character, make it a little bit bigger. Awesome, right? Awesome stuff. Now, in terms of the, so somebody's saying, why are you charging for this code? Now, it's very simple. You can code along for free. This takes like huge amount of effort to go ahead and build. Code along for free. Or I'm giving you the GPT-script, or I've given you 60 plus builds inside of a bundle. It's very easy. If you have a problem, build along for free, right? Literally, I'm showing you a video. It'll take you 3 hours or so. Build along with me. Simple as. All right. Anyone else who's complaining about that, you need to get a grip, because it took me like 50 hours to build this thing. Okay. So let's go ahead and dive straight into the build. So we're going to go ahead and jump in. Somebody goes, your AI content is amazing. That's what I'm talking about, guys. I love the energy that you guys are delivering. And I'm telling you, we're here to stay. So let's keep smashing that like button. We'll get to 200 likes before you know it, right? Somebody goes, my last hackathon, I built the same app like this and 1 second prize. That's what I'm talking about. Alexandro Gossard says, is this going to be available after live? Yes, right? So in terms of everything, and plus, guys, yeah, I don't want to, if I just give you code, I know what's going to happen. I'm sorry, but I mentor hundreds and thousands at this point, students. I know what happens. You get cloned the repo and then you never learn, because you never do the work that's needed to go ahead and succeed. And then you're like, I can't get a job. No, of course. Yeah, you need to put in the work to get what you need to do. So that's why in the course, Zero to Full Stack Hero, I teach mentorship. We're not just another Udemy course. It's mentorship to go ahead and get you the actual skills that you need to go ahead and get a job. Right, so period, that's it, ran over, right? But guys, let's go ahead and jump in. So what's powering this entire build? GPTScript, right? The link is in the description for this. I've actually given you that script that I showed you earlier, so the Storybook GPT. So I've given you this for free. So you have this entire script for free. And then obviously you can go ahead and build it out, or the GitHub repo is in the description. So that's how we've gone ahead and basically I'm challenging you here, all right? And you can say like, oh, it's crazy. Guys, I'm no joke. £67 for the whole thing and 60 builds plus every other build. I've never seen a better value, just saying, FYI. Okay, so it's all good. Somebody goes, I love watching you anyway. You're giving power. Just want to know if I can watch the rest of the live. Yes, 100%, dude. Every single live stream of mine is up live afterwards. Yo, we got 2 more donations, Vibab and AI Magics. Thank you so much, guys, for tuning in. So let's go ahead and jump in. So, oh, look at this. Thomas Fur. Yo, we got Papa Fam members in the house. I purchased a Papa Fam over 2 years ago. So he joined Zero to Full Stack Hero over 2 years ago. I know you, Thomas. And he goes, I didn't regret any cent. So sick, right? Let's go ahead and jump into this build. So GPTScript, how does it work? So GPTScript essentially lets us create tools. Now, a tool can either be a prompt, a piece of code, and these tools can essentially be linked together, right? So in this case, here's the framework, so you guys can go ahead, the link is in the description. But essentially what I showed you earlier, this right here is where the secret sauce is, right? Essentially, these different tools can be linked together, right? AI then decides when to use each tool and with what arguments. So in this case, we can give it the first 3 arguments, but afterwards, these arguments, I never gave it these arguments. I just said, these are some arguments that you could use. And it even has an element of fuzzy logic, which means that you can go ahead and actually, you don't have to be word for word perfect on every single detail. It will just go ahead and figure it out because it has reasoning and understanding with the LLM, a large language model. Right? There's so many acronyms now. I don't hate me for that. I lose track of them afterwards. Right? But this makes the programming process much more intuitive and efficient for developers. Right? So that way it's a lot more fun to build out more powerful things. Now you can really do some pretty cool things with this. Think about it. Right? So really, really cool. Now, let's go ahead and talk about some of the key features of Storybook. So I'm going to go ahead and show you guys. Firstly, they've got a bunch of different tools, right? They're really easy to use. And today I'm going to break it down for you so you can get the entry into how to integrate something like an AI agent or GPTScript into your application. And then the versatility is nuts, right? So in this case, so for example, if we were to go ahead and see the image generation. So we're all familiar with something like DALL-E, right? In this case, you've got image generation tools where you can go, they've got plenty of examples of how you can use something like that. You've even got a browser, guys. So you can go ahead and go to, for example, GitHub. So look at this. Browse Coachella.com, search the current page and find passes information from the website, browse and print the contents and give me, right? So you can literally do whatever you want here. There's tons of different examples. And you see the point here. You're not coding it down to that level. You're essentially just going ahead and giving the AI agent a little bit of context, and then it figures out everything through combining tools together. So the integration part is really where GPTScript seamlessly integrates these different tools together. And the best part, really, it works with all the different languages. So whether you're one of us coding in the JavaScript realm and loving it, right, then you can be great with that. But you've also got Python and a bunch of other languages supported out of the box, right? So a couple of use cases that you could think about. You can automate really complex tasks with ease of use. So whether it's planning your next SaaS app, so your boy's got so much SaaS content coming. We cover a SaaS literally every week inside of Zero to Full Stack Hero. Again, link in the description, check it out, right? And whether it's that or whether it's managing several databases, whether it's doing a bunch of random tasks, this is a really good way to go ahead and create intelligent AI agents and assistants which are capable of performing those wide range of functions. So lots and lots of things going on. You can do things like data analysis, visualization. So a lot of the time when we process a lot of this kind of big data, especially when you've got like CSV files or something where it's like tons of data on the screen, AI really does kind of crunch through that better than a human in a lot of ways. So you can use that to your advantage. And then you can combine that with things like vision, image, audio processing, all the good things that AI have come to kind of love. And the best part, this is what impressed me the most, really, is you can then write to the environment's sort of setup, right? So look at this. Someone goes, Katia, whoop, go crazy. Yeah, you guys see that? Guys, we're growing out here. We're growing out here, right? So in this case, look, you can go ahead and actually write to the isolated system. So in that case, right now, I ran it on my local host and I was able to write directly to files on my machine. So the AI agent can go ahead and do it. It's honestly really, really cool, right? Somebody goes, is this live? Yes. Let's go ahead and jump in, guys. And as I mentioned before I dive in, that script is available in the description right now. The video is not finished, don't worry. You just got to pop in your name and email and then bam, we'll send you the script for free. And if you do get stuck at any point, Zero to Full Stack Hero. First link in the description. Without further ado, let's dive into this build and how the hell we build this cool piece of tech, right? So I want you to go ahead and pull open your terminal. So in this case, I'm going to pull open my Warp. So I like to use Warp. It's kind of cool. Oh, whoa, that was cool. I just saw some AI agent in there as well. AI is taking over right now. It's pretty cool. But anyway, before we do jump into this, I just want to say, stop worrying about AI taking your jobs. It's really the most ridiculous thing I've heard. It's not taking your jobs. It's actually going ahead and helping you become an incredibly fast developer. Now I can learn at a pace that I was never able to learn at because I can have like GPT, what's it called? ChatGPT open on the side, ask it questions. You have mentorship like me. So imagine you combine a mentor like me inside of a community like Zero to Full Stack Hero, plus you've got GPT to go ahead and ask questions to and bounce ideas off. It's actually nuts. Like this is the kind of stuff you dreamt about when you were learning how to code. Okay, so let's go ahead and jump into it. This Daisha needs to chill. Yo, we got the chat going crazy. Let's go ahead and jump into it. So documents, builds, let's go into it. And if you are watching the replay, you can dive through the timestamps. Okay, so MPX, create next app. You see, I build loads of stuff in our coaching calls. And we're going to go ahead and I'm just going to turn the volume down slightly because we're going to get a little bit more focus now. We're going to type in, let's just say YouTube StoryTeller. Let's go ahead and say StoryTeller AI build. Okay, so you can call it whatever you want. I don't care. It's completely up to you. In this case, we're going to go ahead and do that. You don't need the warp terminal. You can use whatever terminal you want. So in this case, I'm going to use TypeScript, ESLint, Tailwind, CSS. I'm basically just doing all of the defaults. It's all good, right? So everything is there. Somebody goes, it's much easier than TensorFlow. Yeah, you obviously in this case, the model's already sort of trained up, so you don't have to worry about any of that stuff. And yeah, let's go ahead and I just want to see Sunny bro. I got my job. Also, I watched so many ideas, so many videos of you. Thanks for all, bro. Oh, that's huge. Jay screenshot that. A massive win from one of our subscribers. I love that. Thank you so much. Let's go ahead and CD into this directory. So it's YouTube StoryTeller AI build. And guys, I just want to show you guys something. If you're wondering, what does he actually build inside a Zero to Full Stack Hero? Boom. I build so many apps, it's unreal, right? So if you're ever wondering, does he actually do much? Oh my God, this is all in coaching calls. So it's actually nuts, like the stuff we do over there, right? So we're gonna go ahead and code. So code dot, and that opens up our directory. And this is your starting point, guys. Now I want you to go ahead and get your workspace nice and ready. I like to have it sort of, set up in a way like this. Oops, I've actually opened up the other screen. There we go. Let's go ahead and pop this open, cool. And look at this. I'm going to go ahead and make you guys a little bit bigger on the chat so I can actually see a little bit more of what's going on. No, actually, I don't need to do that. It doesn't really make a difference except ruin my likes. Yeah, there you go. Okay, cool. So let's go ahead and spin up our app. So once you've done that, we get the starter template for Next.js. So we're going to go ahead and do Command J, output, boom, boom. And I'm going to go ahead and do npm run dev. Now, somebody said, I keep saying I'm going to go ahead. So I'm going to try my best to not do that, okay? Right, so I will try my best, I promise, right? So I'm going to go ahead and do npm run dev. And I just cut my other app because I was running on localhost. Now, what I recommend is you spin up another sort of screen over there. Oh, sorry, not like that, like this. And then we do localhost. And then we have our setup like this. Okay, now tell me if you want it to be bigger on the screen, smaller, music, up, down, everything. This is all down to you guys. I want you guys to enjoy this experience as much as you can. I got lots of comments saying the music can be relatively distracting. So I'm going to try and keep it a bit lower today. Hopefully that helps you out. Smash the like button if that is a great suggestion for you. Okay, so to go ahead and get a nice little clean slate, everything inside the main needs to go. Okay, so we can go ahead and do this. Boom. Let's go down here. Somebody goes, I beg you, please don't stop studying AI. I've got you, man. It's all good. In this case, we're going to say AI agent GPTScript build. Okay, that was kind of cool. So, okay, so somebody goes, how long roughly will this be? I'm approximating 3 hours. I don't know with my builds. Honestly, I reckon 3 hours. Let's throw it out there. Maybe 3 hours, right? It's guaranteed it's going to go over 3 hours. But anyway. Right, so I like to take my time a bit as well. So AI agent GPTScript build, cool. And then let's go ahead and get rid of that. Nice. Now you should be seeing this, right? Go over to your layout, Command B, little nice shortcut in case you wanted to know. If we Command click into our global CSS down there, you can go ahead and see this. Now I like to go ahead and get rid of all the default styling. Get rid of it. We want to keep a clean slate. I'm going to code everything live, guys. So yes, in case you're wondering, I'm coding it all live. Right, I have got my code. Obviously, I have to have a prepared bit of code on the side. So in case you're new to the channel, so I see that Ninja's new here. Yeah, we're going to be coding it live. Yo, Marius, what's up, man? He goes, how's it going, Papa Fam? Sunny's in the house. Another massive build. Guys, Zero to Full Stack members representing inside the chat right now. I love that. Why not Next.js 15? Next.js 15 isn't actually in the stable released yet, but all the difference that you need to worry about Next.js is just some slight caching differences. Don't worry, there's no major differences, and plus I'll make a video on Next.js 15, so don't stress, I got you. All right, the whole goal is you should be learning skills as to how to go ahead and handle like version upgrades, so you can look at a build or a piece of code and know what to do if it's changed in version. So I've just deleted a couple of useless things that I don't really need right now. I'm coding in real time right now. Yes. All right. So in this case, you can go ahead and modify your metadata. I'm just going to leave it right now. Keep it very simple. Okay. We're keeping it pretty simple. Now, the first step, I'm going to go into my, my home page, and I want to go ahead and I'm actually going to run my app on the localhost 3001, this one. So that way at least we've got a bit of a reference to what I'm going to build, right? Now we're going to do a little bit of a warm up here, right? The top part, this is a header. So to get the header in place, essentially everything in the layout.tsx file is where we begin. Okay, so inside layout.tsx, if I want every single page to have a header, I can pop it here. Now, when you see children typically refers to the pages that are going to get rendered out, but the layout itself is the overall layout. So if we put a header here, it means it's going to be on every single page. Okay, so I'm going to pop in that header right now. Oops, okay, don't do that. I'm going to pop in the header. Oh no, I've actually done something stupid. Jay, remind me, I done my Alfred shortcut has now messed me up on something. Oh, that's annoying. That's annoying. Okay, don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. We can do. Oh, god damn. I'm going to quickly fix that actually. Okay, yeah, I want to do that. Okay, so give me 1 second, guys. I'm going to quickly change. I use something called Alfred for like shortcuts and that kind of thing. The annoying thing is that I've actually overridden one of my shortcuts with something else, which is really bad because it's actually messed up my entire flow. So I'm going to go ahead and change that right now. So I've done it. I think I did it. There we go. Can I now comment something? Yay, there we go. Okay, we're back. Right. A bit of live debugging there, right? So in this case, we've got the header. So I like doing it like this. I think you guys love it as well. So we've got the header here. And eventually, we're also going to have a toaster component over here as well from Shadcn. And that's going to be the Sono toaster as well that we're going to be using, okay? Guys, we're almost at 200 likes. Destroy that like button to help push this video out to as many people as possible, right? So in this case, the header. We're going to go into our files here. I'm going to go ahead and show you guys a bit more here. Go into our files. At the top level, click package.json so you're at the top level. Go ahead and type in components. Inside of components, we're going to do header.tsx. Okay. Head over to your extensions, and I want to make sure that you have this extension installed. So if you type in ES7, ES7 plus this one, now I kid you not, every single stream, I swear to God, we push millions of people to this, right? Because now it's got 11 million, but you want to go ahead and enable this snippet. It's really awesome. And why it's so good is because inside of header.tsx, I can just type in RFCE for React functional component, which we export. Okay. And in this case, we don't need to say that it's a header, a client component, because by default, we're going to keep, we don't need to import React because that's given when we're using this, right? Now inside of the layout, we can go ahead and remove this and simply pop in the header, right? And you can see we've even got aliases set up. That happens out of the box now by default, right? So in this case, we've got the header set. So let's go ahead and see. And now we've got the header, boom, right? Awesome stuff. Now, do you guys want the music higher or lower? I want to know. Right, I want to get feedback on this stream so I can make it as comfortable of a viewing experience for you guys. Father Dev says, bro, you're amazing. I feel like I've learned more from you than from every project I've ever built. Keep doing the amazing stuff, please. Jay, screenshot that. That means actually everything to me. Thank you so much for that comment. Right, I will definitely keep it coming. So we have the header. Let's go ahead and customize this. Right, so it's our warm-up experience. Right, so somebody goes, it's a bit low. Somebody says medium. For the higher definitely, I can't hear anything right now. Okay, I think we should put it a little bit higher, right? If anyone finds it annoying, let me know. Okay, so we've got the header here. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to have a link. Now, the link that we're referring to is this, okay? So let me go ahead and get rid of this on my screen, and let's go ahead and do this. So we're going to be building out this. Now, this is actually a clickable link. So if I click it, we actually go to the page. So if I go back and I click that, you see how it takes me back, okay? So we're going to go ahead and pop in a link tag. So link, like so. And then we do href. And this is a Next.js link. Now, it's worth mentioning that when you are using Next links, they prefetch the page, right? So that will actually prefetch. So if you don't want to prefetch, you can say prefetch false. That means if the link is present, it will prefetch that page in the future, okay? So I'm going to get a nice middle ground with the music. I think we're good there. That's a bit low, right? So that way it's not too distracting. I can still hear it. Helps me out. Right, then we've got H1 StoryTeller AI. Boom. Okay, and then we've got a div. Now, for this div, I've got a H2, and then I've got a nice bit of styling I'm going to show you. So in this case, we've got the H2 here. So bringing your stories to life, right? Then I've got a div, and this is a kind of a little trick that I've done here to go ahead and actually get this in a nice little way that we want it to look. So I'm going to go ahead and pop in a bit of code here and show you. So this snippet, all it is a div with a p tag. So if I simplify this, it's actually just a div with a relative. It's a p tag. All right, this doesn't need to be relative. I don't know why it's relative. And here, or does it need to be relative? I don't think so. Yeah, it does need to be relative. Sorry. Yeah. So in this case, we've got the div. And this right here is just handling. You see how it's got like a slanted look to it? Well, actually, we're going to go ahead and essentially do that, right? So right now, this is how we essentially get to that point, okay? So I just want to show you something. So yeah, it's a p tag that we wanted, my bad. So we've just got the text white to life, and this is just saying that it's absolutely positioned, and because the parent is relative, it's only absolute to this parent container, right? So in that case, we just put it in a certain direction, so that way it's kind of going into, essentially what we're doing here is we've moved it into its direction, but it'll make sense once we've actually got it all down perfectly. Now that doesn't make sense, we don't need that. Yeah. So after that, we're going to go into our div, and here outside of it, we're going to say it's a flex container, and that's how we sort of make everything use up only the space it needs to. We're going to say space between all the children components of 5. The text should be 3XL, and on a large screen, it should be text 5XL. Now, what have I just done here? So everything in Tailwind CSS is actually mobile first. So essentially everything we write here is we're defining it in a way which is, this is what I want it to look like on the mobile. And then as it scales up, it'll just keep that styling. And then what we can do is we can add breakpoints in, like LG, which means on a large screen, if you hover over it, you actually see this. If you don't have these suggestions, you need to install the Tailwind CSS extension. And now we say on the large screen, change it to text 5XL. And if you hover over it, you can see what it actually does. Okay, so now on a larger screen, you see how the text got bigger between there and there? That's essentially what we're doing, right? So it gets a little bit bigger there, and that's awesome. So, oh, yo, we got Barcelona in the house. That's what I'm saying, man. Somebody goes, how do you learn new technologies like Next.js? What's your process to learn? Honestly, I can't tell you right now inside of a YouTube stream. However, if you are really interested in it, you can go ahead and check out the somebody goes, I can't focus without music. Yeah, honestly, I do feel the same. You can go ahead and check out Zero to Full Stack Hero. That is where I show you how to do the learning process. People like Marios, everyone is inside the community already. So Zero to Full Stack Hero, papareact.com. It's in the description. Go ahead and check it out. Right, that's where you're going to learn how to learn the way I learn, right? That's a bit of a mouthful. So in this case, we've got the header. That's going to make this relative. It's going to have a padding of 16 because right now it's too close to everything else. And then we're going to say the text should be center. Okay, that's very nice. Looks a lot better already, right? However, StoryTeller AI sucks. That shouldn't look like that, right? So in this case, I'm going to go ahead and say StoryTeller AI should be text 6XL. And I want it to be a font black, right? So it's a little bit bolder. Oops, I've done the wrong one. Sorry, guys. Ignore that. We're going to do this one here. Right. There we go. Boom. Very nice. Yeah. And now bringing your stories to life is out of space, right? It's out of whack. So we don't want it there. We actually forgot to do the div styling. So underneath this div right here, we need to say, because we've got a flex container here, we can say justify center. And that pushes everything into the center. Now, if it does ever kind of wrap around, we don't want it to wrap, right? So in this case, we've got it perfectly enhanced. And the reason what that would mean is if it ever got smaller, that would have wrapped if I hadn't have done that, right? Now, somebody goes, what shortcut to use to resize the windows? I'm actually using, I think it's, Jay, can you remind me what the tool is? I think it's called Magnet for Mac, but that's helped me out. Or Spectacle is what I used to use, right? So a quick little water break as well. Smash that like button if you're enjoying this content. We are absolutely nailing it today, guys. So many people tuning in. This is awesome, right? Make sure you subscribe as well so we can go ahead and get this channel booming again, right? It's already booming. It's pretty sick, honestly. Right, so outside the link, we're going to go ahead and do another div. This div is going to be responsible for these beautiful icons that you see over here, right? So in order to firstly get that done, so we're going to handle the nav icons, right? So these nav icons, essentially all they're doing is taking you to the page to go ahead and see the books, or if you're going to write a new story. I've just added these in for your convenience, right? So that way you can go ahead and have these little navigation things. But you can honestly do like a burger menu, whatever you want. We've got Ivory Coast now. So what's up, guys? Welcome. All right. So before we do that, we actually need to install something called Shadcn. Okay. So if we go to Shadcn, go to installation, and we can see Next.js. So let's go ahead and do that. We can do this next. We've already done this step. So we need to do npx Shadcn latest init, right? So boom. Let's go ahead and pop this open right now. And here we've got npx Shadcn latest init. And this will go ahead and set up Shadcn into my project. So let's go ahead and say, oh, so Jay, the tool was called Rectangle, guys. Rectangle is the one that we're using at the moment to snap the windows in place. It's actually really good. I use it like religiously. It's awesome, right? So in this case, we do default slate. You can choose whatever you want here. Really don't care. CSS variables, yes, right? So let's do this magic. Once that's done, you can go ahead. And what I would recommend is you just follow it through a little bit with the tutorial here. Go down and they will show an example of how to add a button. So in this case, now that we've installed the base, we need to go ahead and install like each component. So what I love about Shadcn, essentially, if you don't know what Shadcn is, it's essentially a component library. But the difference is you're essentially bringing in the component code into your code. So you're not just installing like a dependency bit of like a module, like a Bootstrap. You're basically using the CLI command, like npx install, Shadcn, whatever it is here. So for example, Shadcn UI latest add button. You're basically copying and pasting this code into your directory. That's essentially what's happening, right? So I've just gone ahead and done the button, and then we can look at the UI, and you can see that we've got the button now, right? So we can then go ahead and fully customize it. I really prefer this approach. I think it's a lot cleaner. And what it does behind the scenes as well is it goes ahead and gives us Lucid icons. So Lucid icons, very handy icon library. We get this out of the box with it when we go ahead and install Shadcn, okay? So hopping back over to our build, let's go ahead and carry on with the nav icon. So we're gonna have a link for the first one. And this one is gonna have a href to the home screen. Okay, I'm gonna have the second one again outside here. And this one's gonna have a link to stories, just like so, right? Boom, great. And this one's going to be file pen, right? So this is a file pen icon. Let's go ahead and pop that in like so. And you can give it a size, a bit of styling, or you can define this with a class name. So you can use all of your Tailwind CSS variables. Now, for this, I've actually already saved us a bit of time. We've got width and height of 8, and on larger screen, it's a little bit bigger. MX Auto centers it, text purple 500, margin top 10 to give it a bit of space between the top and itself. Little border purple, and so forth. And you can see that's essentially what we're getting here. When we hover over it, see opacity 50%. So that's how we get that hover interaction. All right, so that looks pretty cool. And let's do the same thing with the link, except we're doing a book open. So this is going to go ahead and be a book open. So if you're wondering how I just did that, control spacebar, book open. You see that? Control spacebar at the end, right? Yuhao says, learned a lot from you in my final year project. Thank you. Lots of love from Malaysia. Thank you so much. Amazing, amazing stuff. Jay, screenshot that. Marios, I'll see you inside the coaching calls. Thank you so much, dude. All right, let's go ahead and jump back in. So we got this looking really nice. And we're going to go ahead and firstly in the div, I want to do flex because right now I don't like how they're sitting on top of each other. That's nice. We're going to space them out a little bit. So space X of 2. And you can see that it's just very simple, right? How it works. Now, because we want this to be absolute to the entire screen, this is not sitting inside of a parent. The only parent it has is header, right? So if I do absolute, it will be absolute to the entire screen, which is okay because I want to go ahead and do something like this. I want to say top. I think I actually want to do minus top of 5. So I want to go in the opposite direction. There you go. If I did top 0 right now, you'd see it's a little bit less because we've got a bit of boarding, a bit of a padding at the top somewhere. So if we go and do right 5 as well, and it goes in the corner, right? And for us, this will be perfect for the build. And that's it. Look, if I click that, it takes me to the other. Oh, I like the black theme. That looks cool. Damn, I like that, right? And then we got this. Maybe I should have done a dark theme for this, right? Maybe that's an addition you guys can add on, right? About to smash 200 likes as well, guys. Carry on doing what you're doing. This is awesome. So that is the header now complete. So header's done inside of our layout. The next step is the page, right? So we're going to start building out the main page itself. So if we go over to our page, so let's go into our app directory, page.tsx. This resembles the home page route. Okay, so this is where we're going to go ahead and build the logic for our home page. And this is where most of the real stuff is going ahead and happening, right? So what we're going to do is essentially we're going to call this component here, this one right here, we're going to call this the story writer component, okay, to simplify things. And then this is going to be like a UI element. So it's very simple UI element, right? So let's go ahead and do that right now. So we've got the div. So in this case, we can keep that as main. It's okay. Okay. And we've got a section on the left. Now this section is going to represent this part here. Okay, and we're going to make it responsive so that way it stacks up like so, right? Because I kind of like how this is looking in that way, right? So I'm going to go ahead and say in this section right now, we've got the div, cool. And then I'm going to have an image component. Now the image component itself is actually going to be this one here. So the image component. Now this is going to be a next image component. I've done a whole video on the next image component in case you're wondering how to use it properly and effectively, right? So you can go ahead and do that and check that one out yourself. Now for the logo, I've actually got my own image. So what I've done is I've gone to my package.json, gone ahead and created a new images folder, and I've actually got a local image here. So you can feel free to use whatever logo you want. And I've given you that flexibility yourself, so you can go ahead and customize them. I don't like when everyone's got the exact same build. It's kind of cool to have your own, logos and so forth. So in this case, I'm going to go ahead and pull in my logo like so. So I've got a logo like this. So you can feel free to use whatever logo you want. It has to be, in this case, a PNG file. Just make things a bit simple. We're going to say source equals, and it's going to be that logo. Now, to get that logo, what we do is we import it from our logo, right? So we're going to say import logo from images, logo, PNG. Now, this is freaking out because it needs a height and width, okay? So I'm going to give it a height of 250. Let's go ahead and do it right now. Height of 250, and this is going to be a capital L for the logo. This is freaking out because we haven't got any alt text, so this is going to be an alt text just saying, let's just say logo. Easy as, right? And now you can see, boom, we've got a nice little logo. Right, somebody goes, I've got a question regarding clerk library. There's a limitation of 5 members per organization. What are some alternatives? 5 members per organization. I believe that's on the free plan. Once you go past that, you can configure it. But we're not talking about clerk in this build. That is for my next build. Next week, I have a build with clerk, an awesome build. Right. So inside this, we have the image, and then we got the button itself. Right. So button. Now this button is going to be, it's going to have an inside link. Right, and I'll show you how cool this is. I've got a nice little trick here. So we're going to say here, explore story library. Okay, and this is going to look like so. And this is obviously our button from Shadcn that we went ahead and installed. Now, because we've got the link inside, what we can do is we can say as child, and what this does is it turns the entire button into the clickable link inside. Right? Otherwise, it would just be the text typically, and that's not really a nice user experience. So as child allows us to make the whole thing clickable. We say padding X of 20. We're going to give it a little bit more nicer styling here. Background purple, 700. Padding of 10 overall, and then the text should be extra large. Okay. Explore the story library. That's nicer. Nice. Now the section itself, so this div, I'm going to give it a nice background color. So what I'm going to do here is give it a little bit of styling. So background color, let's go and do this. We got a background color, purple, flex. By default on mobile view, I want it to be flex column. So you notice here, it's a flex column, right? I think it actually stays like that, to be honest. Yeah, we don't actually change that, right? Space Y of 5, justify center, image, items are centrally aligned. So very, very nice. And then we're going to go ahead and say, on the mobile, it's going to be order 1. This means that basically we're going to, you see right now, this is first, okay? But over here, I want to change the order. So I'm going to go ahead and sort of have this order. This is a special flex function, and it helps us do something. And if you're worried about how to use flex, definitely check out Flexbox Froggy. I've done a whole video on it. Jay can pop it up right now if you're watching the replay, all right? So order 1, and then on a large screen, we're going to change the order. So that way, the items are rearranged as such, right? And we've got padding on the bottom of 10. Okay, cool. So that looks good so far, right? Very nice. And then next up, we have the story writer below the div, right? So this is actually going to be the story writer component. Okay, and this is going to represent this entire section. So how do we do that? Well, firstly, before we get into anything else, you see how it doesn't take up the full screen height? I don't like that, right? So what I want to do is head over to my layout, and I can start modifying this to make sure that we are always using the full height. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to get flex container to the entire page, and now we don't want that, right? So I want to say flex column. Everything is column by default, but I want the minimum height to be the screen height. Okay, so now we've actually told our Flexbox that, we actually told the window that you need to be a minimum height of the screen, okay? And that gives us access to all the real estate that we're after, right? So in this case, we go back to our page, we can actually go ahead and say flex 1. And what this does is it goes ahead and now, without realizing behind the scenes, we've said this component should now take up the full width that it possibly can. So if we make this flex, all of its children components are going to be now using up minimal space, as flex naturally does in flex row. Then we do flex column, and it will naturally take up the full width again. But the magic really comes in the section part. So here, I want this section to take up flex one, and this flex one is being applied to this flex container. Okay, and then we're going to say this is going to be a grid view. It's going to have a grid, let's say grid, sorry guys, grid columns 1 by default, and then on a large screen it's going to have a grid columns of 2. Right, so on mobile view it's stacked, so you notice how it's 1 grid, and then we change it to a 2 grid view on the larger screen. Right, so that's great. Now you can see it's using up the full height of the page, so that's perfect. That's exactly how we wanted it. Next step is we need to do the story writer. Okay, so we head over to our components. Inside of here we do storywriter.tsx, okay, RFCE, and we have the story writer. Okay, now I want to go ahead and import that. So if we go back over here, uncomment this out, and we can go ahead and import this like so. And now we have the story writer. And as you can see, look, it's on the top here, and you see how it's on the right here, and that's because of the ordering, right? If we got rid of the ordering, you'll see that it messes up the direction. So it's perfect on the large screen, but the order is wrong on the smaller screen. So in this case, we can control the order by using order 1 and minus order 1. Okay, so that's pretty cool. Don't worry if you're late. It's all good, guys. I'm just glad you're here. Smash that like button if you're watching and you're enjoying this content. I'm going to keep it coming. This is going to be one of our best builds. Honestly, it's really, really cool what we're doing today. So the story writer component, heading over to the story writer component, we're going to go ahead and do the following. So story writer is where all of the actual raw magic is happening. Now this is going to be a client component. So in this case, I'm going to say use client, and that's because we're going to have a lot of state here, for example, as the user types in and so forth. Right, now for this one, I'm going to have a div, and the first thing is we're going to have a section here. So section, and inside this section, I'm going to have a text area. Now this text area is coming from Shadcn. So if we go over to Shadcn, we go down to text area, we can see npx Shadcn latest, add the text area. How's the volume, guys? Let me know. I want to know if this is good volume for you guys, if it's not too loud and so forth. Command J to pull up our terminal, and we're simply going to go ahead and pull in, say npx Shadcn UI latest, add text area with an A. It's kind of wrapped around. Yeah, and that's perfect. Somebody goes, I'm going to smash that like button first. That's what I'm talking about, dude. Thank you so much. Right, we also need a couple of other things. We also need the select. Right, so we're going to be using the select. So this beautiful little UI component, we're going to go ahead and install that right now. Pop that in. And I think we're good from that front. I think that will be everything for now. And then we can go ahead and get things in afterwards, right? So perfect. That's gone ahead and added in. Section is looking good. Somebody says cool volume. I think that means good volume. All good. Yeah. Nice. So for the section now, we're going to have the text area. So here, text area. And now you see we pull it in. And it's worth mentioning that you want to make sure that this is pulling in from our local UI text area, right? So that works really nicely. Boom. And now you can see that we've got a text area. Very, very nice. Okay. For the div, I'm going to start styling it out so we can kind of get an idea of how it's going to look. This one I want it to be a flex container, flex column, and I'm going to use container. Now container automatically just gives it a bit of padding, and it sort of centers the margin. So it gives padding left and right to rem. Make sure it's 100 width. So that way, if you ever need a kind of quick hack, you just do container. It's kind of a nice quick sort of use case, and that way it saves you from doing padding X and centering it. Right? Now inside this, we want the text area to take up the majority of the room. So we're going to say flex 1 on the parent. Okay, so that means take up the most room while you can. So then we're going to say this is also going to be a flex container, and the contents, so the children of this, are going to abide by flex column rules. Okay, this is going to have a border around it, and then we're going to say the border here is going to be purple 300. Okay, so purple 300. There we go. And it's going to be rounded corners. So in this case, you can see it's nice rounded corners, but that doesn't look good unless we've got padding. That's nicer, right? And then we're going to do space Y2. Okay, I guess space between everything. a nice little bit of breathing room. And also while we are here, you can see it's not just touching the bottom right now. I don't like that. I actually did that in the next component underneath this section. So underneath this section, we're gonna have another section. And for that one, I went ahead and did it a bit of spacing there. But I would argue that that's not the best way to do it. Actually, we could do it that way. Yeah, we could do it this way. I'm gonna say this next section will be a flex 1 as well, as in the overall container will be flex 1. And then we're gonna say padding bottom of 5 and margin top of 5 as well. So we got a bit of spacing there. That's better. And that way it won't touch the full thing. Now, what I've done there is I've created an invisible bit of space here to say that wherever this goes here should be using up the majority of the space there. So this will be where we have the preview window essentially. So right now that you can see they're both fighting for equal space, which means that's why we get that nice little 50-50 distribution, right? So we've got the text area, which is nice. Then we're going to have the select field. Now, if you're wondering how to use it, how the hell to use the select field, you can basically go ahead and head over to the Shadcn library, go to the select, and here you've got lots of nice code examples, right? So you can see all the different examples of how you can go ahead and use it. So I've made your life a little bit easier here, and I've done this bit for you. So in the text area, we can go ahead and have a select. So we're going to have a select. And you see it's radix UI or UI, our local one. You always want to make sure we do the local one, right? Then we're going to say select trigger. And this is basically responsible for how we go ahead and open it. Then we have select value, okay? And in this case, this will say the place, this is actually a self-closing component. And the placeholder here can be something like, how many pages should the story be? Okay, the story be, question mark, boom. And you can see how many pages should the story be, right? And then we need to have the drop-down option. So what is actually inside? So we have select content, right? Now inside of here, I just want to render 1 to 10. So I'm going to show you a neat little trick. So firstly, if I had this, right? So if I had 1 to 10, select content, we also need to import from UI, and select option, we need to import. This is not select content, select item, sorry. Select item. Yep, there we go. That should be E. There we go. Boom. And these are out of here like so. And they need keys as well. That's what it's freaking out about. Missing value as well. So the value here would be so forth, right? So we'd basically have all these different ones that would go there. So 1, 2, 3, 4, so forth, right? So here, what I'm going to do is instead of doing that, I'm going to say, this is a little hack, right? You say array from. So we're going to go say, make an array of 10. And then what we do is we essentially map through this array that we've just created, right? So what I've done here is I'm just going to try and not confuse you too much. So if we close that out there, you can now see that we have, that's it, right? So we have the actual items here ourselves. So in this case, we're going to render our select item, where the key is the index. Every time it loops through, the key is the index, but it starts at 0. In every bit of coding, it starts at 0. So we're going to actually render out 0 plus 1. So it'll be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and so forth. And then here, we also need a value, right? So in this case, value. And the value is going to be I plus 1, right? Now, this needs to be a string, so we're going to cast it to a string, like so. And now, how many pages should the story be? Boom. Aha. A nice little drop down. Cool. Very nice. Yeah. And then for the select content, we're going to go ahead and say the width should be 4. Awesome. Okay. So refresh and you can see now, very, very nice, right? Now for the select trigger or the text area, so I want to have a bit of a placeholder. So let's go ahead and say placeholder. Oh, sorry, I didn't do placeholder there, but class name. So placeholder, write a story about a robot and a human who become friends, right? So in that case, we've got a nice little bit of a preempt to the user so they know what to write. Underneath the select, I'm going to have a button. This is going to be the UI button that we had before. And Jeff from Kenya here, what's up, dude? Good to see you in the house. And this is going to say generate story, right? Now, we're not even caring too much about that span. So we're going to say generate story. Nice. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to make that button width full in case it ever needs to sort of make that decision. So in this case, width full. So in this case, sometimes when we started messing around, I think it came later on, but I need to change that. But yeah, there you go. And this button by default, you can actually apply different sizes. So in this case, I'm just going to make it a default large button, which is only slightly better, but it's kind of cool. Okay. So there you go. That's looking pretty good already. Okay. So If we go into the section itself, everything's looking nice. The text area, we're going to give this a bit of styling. The class name here, we're going to say that the text area is going to take up the majority of the space, guys. So it's going to be flex 1, and I want the text to be black. Okay, so in this case, look at that. You see how now it takes up the full space? That's what we wanted, right? So that looks really, really good. Delvin Shoko goes, my goat. That's what I'm talking about. Thank you so much, dude. I appreciate the support. So this is looking really nice. Look at that. UI is looking cool, guys. Everyone smash the like button. Sunny's on fire. Dude, I love you and appreciate you. Thank you so much. All right. So look at this. Generate story. If we look at our app right now, we've also disabled it. How do we disable that? Well, the next step in this naturally is to assign some state, right? So we need to capture the state of when the user types in here. We need to capture the state of when the user selects a value. And we need to capture the state of when it's in progress and so forth, right? So first things first, we need to capture the text, right? So in this case, what is the text? Well, firstly, I'm going to call that the actual, what did I call that? I called that the story, right? So in this case, this is a story. So this is going to be the value here. It's going to be the story, right? It was actually story input, whatever you want to call it. But at the top here, what we can say is simply const story set story, and we need to import use state from React. So now I need to go ahead and say when I type in, so on change, right, what happens here is it fires off a value, right? So this is a nice little neat little trick. So every time I type in this field, it will set the story to e.target.value, which means it basically goes to this, gets the target, which is essentially the element, the HTML element, and gets the element value, and it updates that in our story. So now the way to test this, make sure that as you type, you get output. If it doesn't output here, you made a mistake on that part. Okay, so pretty much that simple for that. The next one is the select value. So how do I capture the select, the sort of, you know, this value? Well, same principle. We have to create a piece of state to resemble the pages. So in this case, I'm going to go over to the top and we're going to go do the same thing. Now here you can see I've casted it to a number. And I can actually do this with a couple of things. I can say the top one must be a string. Now, if I don't do this, it tends to go ahead and implicitly define it based on the starting value. So if I go ahead and see this is not automatically a string. That's because TypeScript's clever enough to know that, all right, he gave it a string to begin with. So I'm assuming he needs it to be a string and so forth. But in this case, we're going to be a little bit safe and give it the set values. So going back to select content, the way you do it with a drop down or select field, you say on value change, right? So slightly different. This one's going to be, sorry, it's not the select content, it's select here. We'll say on, yo, look at that, guys. Nuke Lima goes, hey, Jay, I got 3 job offers after building some of your projects. That's sick, Jay. Screenshot that. That is awesome. Thank you so much for sharing, man. Huge stuff. On value change. And then here we've got the value. So it's not really an event. It's the value that comes back. So we can go ahead and say set the pages to the value. Now, difference here is this is a string. The value is typically a string. So we're putting a number inside. So this is the benefit of TypeScript. So we are using TypeScript today, of course. So we're going to go ahead and say pass int. So pass int, and then we go ahead and do that. Now what that does is it turns our string into an integer. Okay. And that's pretty safe. We can do that. Now, with that said and done, we can select a value and there we go. So now we've got the pages stored in a variable and the story stored in a variable as well. So with those two things, we can actually disable the button if we haven't actually put in an input, right? So in this case, I can go ahead and say disable the button if there is no story or if there is no pages. And then we can give it some styling. And by default, Shadcn has some nice styling, right? So now you can see if I refresh this, if I type in ABC and you see I can't click it. But if I click on how many pages, then I can click the generate story. Awesome stuff, right? Really nice little addition. Okay. Now the next bit of magic, we're going to go ahead and have this little beautiful terminal view that we've gone ahead and done. Jack Mullen, we'll check this later. Cheers, Sonny. Appreciate you. Thank you so much, dude. Just stop by, smash that like button, and feel free to enjoy the video later. That's how we do it, right? So after we've done that, we're going to have the AI viewer. So the AI viewer, slightly different bit of UI. So in this case, Ali Casal goes, amazing, mate. Loving all your videos. Easy to follow and fully explained. Thank you so much. I really try and keep them live so that way you guys can learn the most. I think it's going to be the most beneficial to you guys by doing that. Right. So in this case, we've got a div inside this div that we're building right now. Again, this area. Okay. So to get the styling right, what I've done is I've given you a bit of the sort of style setup here. It's going to be a flex column reverse. Now this is the cool part. So there's a little trick that I learned. I used to do it a different way where it kind of scrolled down every time the user types something in. So if I here, for example, if I write a story about a monkey who can jump super high, right? I don't know what we're saying, but how many pages should it be? Now notice something here, right? If I go ahead and say generate a story, notice how I don't have to constantly scroll up. You see how the new stuff comes straight to the bottom? That's because I've done a little trick by saying flex column reverse. So as the new things come in, it's automatically scrolling down. You see this? And that's really the behavior that we always kind of want when we're handling with chats and something like that. So little neat trick that I thought I'd share with you guys by using flex column reverse. And then we've also got a story about a monkey who can jump super high, which is cool, right? It's also worth mentioning that I've actually added a safeguard here for this one to say if it's inappropriate for children, the AI will actually halt the execution. So very, very cool, right? So look at that. No, so overflow auto does not do what you expect. Overflow Y scroll is cool here, or you can do overflow Y auto, it's fine. But the flex column reverse is the magic here. Okay, really, really cool stuff. Quick little water break and then we can carry on. Thank you so much, Jem and Sam. I appreciate you so much. I would love to have a person like you inside Zero to Full Stack Career with your energy. Guys, we're almost about to smash 200 likes. We are doing amazing so far on this stream. Let's keep it going. Right, so underneath here, we're gonna have a div. Now this one is gonna go ahead and say, we're gonna have a span here to say span. And in here, I'm literally just gonna have the following, right? So I'm escaping these because it's a delicate character. And this is gonna have a class name, margin right of 5. Now, as you can see here, this is we're setting up the preface for what is going to come in here, right? So afterwards, we're going to have the progress being put out here. Now we don't have the progress here. We don't actually know what that is, but this is essentially all of the progress. So essentially, we're going to go ahead and do that. Somebody says no ref. You could use ref. You could use ref, right? But I'm doing this because I wanted to disabled interactivity. So as you type in, it goes ahead and ensures that it's disabled. So you can use ref if you don't want that, okay? So for the progress, to keep track of that, I'm just going to go ahead and keep a bit of state at the top, like so. Okay, so we're going to use this later on. So now I can go ahead and uncomment that. And right now, there's no progress, so we don't need to do that, right? And then above that, we're going to have the... above that, we're going to basically go ahead and... So we need to have one more variable. Somebody says React Native new series. Yes, I'm coming out with React Native content as well. Imagine, guys, third video this week. Your boys... catching up with all the latest and greatest and trying to get you at the forefront of it all for absolutely free, right? So we're gonna have this special variable called run started, right? And before, when run started is false, you see, oh, by the way, look, it done Monty the super jumping monkey. Nice, right? You see, when it says run finish, I'm waiting for you to generate a story above. So we're gonna go ahead and implement that. The way we do that is very simple, actually. What we gotta do is say, if run is finished, actually we're going to use run finished. So I will create a run finished, and here we'll say if run is finished. If it's not finished, so if it's null, then we're going to go ahead and say the following. I'm going to say I'm going to have a little fragment because I've got two children next to each other. The first one is going to say a span. Well, really, this could be a p tag, which says I'm waiting for you to generate a story above. So here. And then I'm going to have a simple break, right? So I'm being a bit lazy there. So break will make it easy. Run finished is not defined. So we need to go ahead and define that right now. Now run finished is going to be so it's going to be a Boolean. However, it could be Boolean or no. And the reason being I'm using no is because I set it to no by default on purpose in the beginning. So that way I can check. If we never used it in the first place, it would always start with this. I'm waiting for you to generate something. It's a nice little UI element. So we're going to go ahead and say animate. So animation here is going to be animate posts, right? And that gives it a nice little, kind of like a breathing effect, right? Let me say margin right of 5. Kind of give it a bit of space. Oops, margin right of 5. There we go. Oh, so that's in case anything's next to it, right? So that's pretty cool, guys. Already looking kind of nice. It kind of looks like a bit of input, right? So I really like how this comes out in the end. So I guess the next step really is to go ahead and actually get the rest of the input. Now, we have got a few other things here. So we're also going to have a bit after this where we have the current tool. So it will go ahead and show you the current tool that is being used as we go ahead and change things. So the current tool is going to look something like this. It's going to say if there is a current tool allocated, and we're going to set all this up afterwards, don't worry. If there's a current tool that's being used, I want to have a div, and then inside of my div, I'm basically going to render out the following, guys. I'm going to say a span of current tool, and then we're going to render the current tool name, and then this is going to have a padding y of 10, right? And this is all for readability. So we're trying to make like an interactive sort of terminal, right? So it's kind of showing us what's going on, showing us what the AI agent is thinking as it's basically working. So I'm talking obviously at a high level, thinking meaning what it's actually doing, right? As the streamed events come in, what it does. So we're going to add that piece of state for the current tool, go back down here, and you can see right now it doesn't show anything because we haven't got any current tool selected, which is great because eventually we're going to have that set up. Now the rest of it is going to be underneath here. So underneath the current tool, we're going to basically here we would render the events as they stream in. So this would render the events as they stream in. And then here we would go ahead and also have when StoryTeller starts. So this bit we can actually do, we can say run started. If the run started, then I'm simply going to render out a div, which says something very easy. I'm just going to go ahead and do something like this. AI StoryTeller has started, and then a break, right? And that basically gives us the beginning essence. So if we said write a story about a developer who loves to code. One story, AI StoryTeller has started, and then the progress will start streaming in, and you see current tool. So as the current tool changes, it will show it, and then the progress gets streamed in and so forth with the event. So that progress is all of this stuff, and this is going to be the actual events being streamed in. So that's how we basically get that nice interactive element. This is all being streamed in on a live stream. You see the inception that's going on right now? Crazy. All right, guys, we're about to break 200 likes. Awesome stuff. Okay. So next up, we have, let's go back over to our run started. Yep, there we go. Everything's good. Cool. So what we need to do is we need to handle the button click. So when I click generate story, this is where we essentially start the whole process, right? So the button click. So here, I'm going to say on click, and we're going to go ahead and call a function called run script, right? So we need to create this function, of course. And also I'm going to disable the button if the run started, by the way, as well, right? So we want to have that as well. What are you drinking? Someone goes, what are you drinking? This is just simply water out of a corkscrew. If you're wondering about my desk setup and how I've used it all, we've got a whole video on that. You can watch it right now. It's freak up. It'll jump out on the screen right now in the replay. Jay, that's a hint to go ahead and do it. I'm just drinking water as well, yeah. I remember when people used to say, he's drinking vodka. No, I was about to say I wish, but I really don't as I'm coding. So in this case now we're going to have a function. So I'm going to say asynchronous function, run script, and then this is going to be the function, okay? So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to say set run started and to true, set run finished to false, right? So that's the first thing in that. Drinking water, Sunny is good boy. That's it. The stories are giving some vibes of Linux terminal. Yeah, 100%. It looks like a Linux terminal, right? It's kind of cool. All right, so in this case now we're going to have a const response, and we're going to make an asynchronous call to a fetch call, to the backend. So in this case we're going to say fetch /API /run script. Well, obviously we haven't created this endpoint yet. It's going to be a post function, right? So in this case it's going to be a post. The headers are application JSON, and for the body we're going to stringify the story, the pages, and also the path. Now for the path, guys, this is actually going to be a static value at the top of the file. So in this case, I'm just going to pop in the public stories. And this is really going to be where I want GPT to go ahead and write the story. So what we're doing here is we don't actually have anything, we don't actually have a database here. We simply are writing it to the server itself. So I'm just showing you an example. You can feel free to integrate a database as you wish. So we've got the stories path here. Let's go down below, and for the path, we're simply going to pass that in. So we've got story, pages, path. Now, if you remember clearly, those are actually going to form the basis for the Storybook GPT. So those are actually the first three arguments. This right here, story, pages, and path, are going to be the first 3 arguments here, that story, pages, and path to Storybook GPT. So that's how we kickstart off the script. So it gets better and better. Stay tuned. All right, guys, boom, 200 likes. Let's go. That's what I'm talking about. Energy's through the roof. All right, run script. That's better. Cool. All right, so now with that said and done, we can go ahead and get to the next part. So I want to have basically, okay, so once we've got that, I'm going to say if the response is okay and if the response has a body, right? Now, this is something that I haven't seen on streams before or on YouTube videos. They don't talk about really how to handle streams from the API. Right, so in this case, imagine our Next.js backend, we keep the connection that we made from the post request, we keep it open and we're streaming the data that is coming from the AI agent, right? So in this case, whether it's OpenAI, whatever it is, they've given one example on the Next.js website, but they don't give many. And what I've done is I thought, screw it, I'm going to show you guys a full tutorial as to how to handle streaming. So here we have it. We're going to handle the stream. This is basically going to be something that we're going to go ahead and build out. Like so. And then if that doesn't work, so if the response for whatever reason failed, then what we're going to say is set the run finish to true, and we're just going to error out. So we're going to basically say, right, it's finished and it failed to start streaming. Okay, but if it did start working, then what we're going to say is streaming has started, right? And then this is where we would implement all the logic that I said before. So this is a to-do basically. We need to go ahead and build this up. Cool. Now, I guess the next natural thing to do is more so creating the API endpoint, right? So we're going to go ahead and create the API run script. So Command B, go into our folder directory and inside of app. Now I want to make it a very intense point here that in the pages folder, so when you're using Next.js 12 and below, you were using the pages basically router. Then you had to write API, whereas in Next.js 13 and above, no matter if it's Next.js 13, 14, 15, whatever the case, you're using the app router, and app router doesn't need to have API, but it's just kind of a handy syntax to have API / that way all your API endpoints are gathered in this folder, but you don't have to have API folder. You could just, as long as it says route.ts for the file, for the endpoint, that's what counts. So here we're gonna have run script. So this will be localhost 3000 /API / run script route.ts. So this is how we create an API endpoint. And this is why I really love Next.js. It's honestly so cool like that. And now what we're going to do is we're going to support a post request. So this is how we write our post request. And it takes a next request like so, right? So this is awesome stuff. There we go. So we got it. So now this route only accepts a post request. And how do we get the body? So remember in StoryWriter, we actually sent over story pages path. Well, to pass the body, what we do is we essentially go ahead and say const stories pages path equals await request.json. Okay, so that's how we go ahead and get that. Right now, quick little pause. We have to now set up GPTScript. So GPTScript, again, link is in the description to get started with this GitHub. Go to GPTScript, and the first thing we need to do is actually go ahead and install it. So what I want you to do is actually do brew install GPTScript into your machine. This is if you want to test GPTScript locally, right? Or you can go ahead and do this to go ahead and set it up locally. Now, I recommend you do that, right? So I use Homebrew to go ahead and get this up and running. But we're going to go and set it up firstly inside of our application. So let's find out where the documentation is again. So if we go to docs.gptscript.ai, you've got a bunch of different examples here, right? So let's go to examples and guides. I believe it was chat with the API. Was it this one? No, I don't think it was this one. I think it might have been using tools, OpenAI tools. No. That's fine. I can show you how I do it anyway. Right. So essentially, I'll show you my version of it. Right. So in this case, over here, first thing we need to do is actually install GPTScript into our project. So heading over to our code, I'm going to pop this open and I want you to pay attention down here. So we're going to do npm I GPTScript-AI /GPTScript. So this is going to install GPTScript into our project. Okay. Then what we're going to do is we're going to pull it in like so. We're going to pull two things, run event type and run op. So these are actually two type definitions from the GPT script. Yo, what's up, Jamie? Zero to Full Stack Hero Diamond member in the house. What's up, guys? If you're interested in being like Jamie and getting, he's honestly way ahead of the curve when it comes to a lot of other devs, then check out the link in the description. But yo, we got some members in the house. Awesome to see you. Right, so for the run options, this is essentially what we want to pass GPTScript, right? So GPTScript is how we go ahead, essentially, like I mentioned, it's a framework that allows LLMs, so large language models, to operate and interact with various systems, and those are the tools that we spoke about, right? So we need to obviously pass it some options when it runs. So we're going to say const opt, and I'm going to use the run opt to make sure we, give it the correct things. If I do control spacebar now, you can see I get all the specific things that pop up, right? So first things first, I want to disable the cache because every single run, I want to have a fresh set of results. And then we've got inputs. Now inputs, I want you to pay attention here, right? So I'm using string interpolation, but what I'm going to say is essentially, like if I have the story, right, then I'm gonna have, to be honest, you can do this a couple of ways, right? I done it one way the first way, but I kind of realized you have to have these, otherwise it will fail. So I'm gonna go and do the following. I'm gonna say, story. Let's do this. Let's say story dash dash pages dash dash path. Okay, and essentially what this is doing, guys, is it's actually going ahead and firstly, one minute, the input does not exist. Do you mean to write input? So this is not input, this is input, right? So imagine a CLI command, right? So typically when we run a CLI command, it would look something like this. It would be GPT script, and then would have the file to the script. So it'll be like story-book.gpt, and then it would be like, a story, pages, 5, path, right? So that's essentially what we're trying to tell it, right? So we're passing in these arguments, and this will be towards the GPT script that we're actually going to be running. Now, we are going to need this Storybook GPT. So at this point, what I want you to do, in the link in the description, you'll find the GPT opt-in form. And I'm giving away the Storybook GPT for free. So you just pop your name and email, boom, you get an email. It has it inside the email, okay? So once you've done that, you will get the Storybook GPT. So I'm going to go ahead and just drag the Storybook GPT into the folder. 1 second. So I'm going to go ahead and pull that in right now. Drag it into the folder for run script. So it's local to run script. So it should be next to your route.ts. Now, again, you get that all for free in the description. And that'll give you all of the script to get started. So you can feel free to read it. It's basically just the steps, and we're defining each individual tool and so forth, right? So that's pretty handy for you guys to go ahead and get started off. So I've done that for you to help you out. Okay, so once that's done, now we're going to go back to our route.ts, and essentially I'm going to keep this here as an example, right? So I'm going to say example CLI command. Now it's worth mentioning all of the code that I'm showing you on my computer is going to be available inside of the Papa GitHub repo. Okay, so you can go ahead and check that out. Now German Sam goes, I'm also a rare diamond. That's what I'm talking about, guys. If you are in, I don't know if you're inside Zero to Full Stack Hero yet, Sam. If you're not, I'd love your energy. Get inside Zero to Full Stack Hero. Right, the link is in the description, papareact.com. Right, but in this case, like, we pass the inputs, right? So this is how we go ahead and get it all set up. Now, this is where the real kind of logic kicks in. So we're going to say where we have try catch block. And this is essentially going to allow us to protect ourselves. If for whatever reason there's an error, I'm going to return a new response, okay, with JSON stringify the error, and we're going to say status 500. Now you can do a next response as well, completely your call. In this case, I've kept it simple, just use that. But yeah, you can use whatever you want there. All right, so in this case, we've got the try catch. Now for here, we're going to use something called a text encoder, and we're going to create something called a readable stream. Okay, so Jay just dropped a link to our course and community inside the chat. Check it out if you're interested, right? So we're going to say const encoder. And right now, guys, what we're doing, just so I make it incredibly clear, when we execute GPTScript, right? So when we execute GPTScript, so as it streams information in, we're going to be streaming that from our API endpoint into the client, right? So const encoder equals new. And for this part, I'm actually going to lower the music a bit because I think it would help to definitely dial in and focus a bit more, right? So a little bit more calm music, so it's not so distracting. So in this case, const encoder equals new text encoder. And then we're going to say const stream equals new readable stream. Okay. There we go. Nice. Right. Now the readable stream, this is really where all the magic is happening, right? So this is where we have something called a controller, which we're essentially going to allow it to do all of its things, right? So in this case, this is going to allow it to basically control what happens every single time an event comes through that stream. Okay, so in this case, what I can say is asynchronous start. So you can see here, let's start. So when the controller starts, I can do a bunch of things, right? So I'm going to have a try catch here to make sure, you know, if anything happens, we catch it. Now, for whatever reason, try catch. Oh, this music's chill. I like this, right? We're going to do controller error, and I'm also going to console log the error out itself, right? So I'm just going to say error and log it out. And you can go ahead and do an error log if you want, okay? So we've just got a little bit of protective stuff going on. Any resource to learn software testing? Yes, we actually teach testing inside zero to full stack hero. So papareact.com/course. Link is in the description. Okay. So here we're going to actually start the run. So this is where we actually initiate GPTScript. So we're going to say const run equals await, and then we need to import our GPT. Now we haven't actually done this yet. So what we're going to do here is we need to set up our instance of GPTScript. So close this all. So basically click that one, go to your top or file package.json, create a new folder called the lib. Oh, we've actually got the lib, sorry. So lib, we've already got. So inside of your lib folder, this was added by Shadcn. You can learn backend inside of Zero to Full Stack Hero. Yes, 100%. We teach everything, full stack, front end, back end, everything is inside of Zero to Full Stack Hero. And I highly recommend Diamond if you really want to escalate. Otherwise, Platinum has got you covered as well. So, but Diamond is really where the mentorship side takes it to another level. All right, so inside a lib folder now, we have to create our GPTScript instance. So here, GPTScript instance.ts. Oh, this is such a nice tune. This is a vibe. If you want the music playlist, it's all in the description. All right, so Diamond calls are fire. Jamie knows it. We were doing this work literally last Wednesday inside of the coaching call as an example. All right, so we import GPTScript into our file. Then we say const g equals, and we're going to initialize the GPTScript. So student says, what time zone are the Diamond weekly calls? So we actually have them, I believe, around 2 p.m. GST. However, we're flexible. We constantly change that time to accommodate most of the students. And again, everything is recorded and added into the course afterwards as well. So even if you miss it, you've got a backlog of loads of content, right? GPTScript. And then we're going to go ahead and pass in the API key. Now, the API key here is actually going to be the OpenAI key. So process.environment.openai_API_key. Now, this is the important part, okay? Now, have you dropped some new videos about the new React 19 inside Papa React course? Yeah, honestly, I'm dropping like tons of new content in there at the moment. So, but I'm trying my best to keep up everywhere we have touch points with students. I'm dropping stuff. Like I'm working crazy hard lately, right? OpenAI API key. So in this case, we need to actually have our environment variables. So at the top layer level next to package.json, we're going to create a file called .env.local. And then in here, we're going to have OpenAI API key. And then I'm actually need my key. So at this point, you do OpenAI. I always forget this bit, but just type in OpenAI keys, and then you'll see OpenAI platform, and it will take you to your section here. So once you're on platform.openai.com, go to your API keys. I've got a bunch of keys here. You would just need to go ahead and create a new secret key, create the key, and it will go ahead and give you your secret key, right? So you'll get a secret key, which looks something like this. Obviously the whole value. So that's how you get your API key, okay? Now it's worth mentioning that yes, it will obviously use some of your API quota for OpenAI. So you can actually sign up as a new user. So if you haven't used an email yet to sign up, I recommend sign up with that. You'll get a bunch of free credit, and then you can actually use that towards this tutorial. Or you can be like me, and I simply always have a build up OpenAI account because I use OpenAI quite a lot, right? So in this case, Let's go back over here. And what I'm going to do now is I'm actually going to go ahead and paste in my value for my key. But I'm going to go ahead and hide my screen while I paste it. So right now, just to show you, I am pasting the value here and then I'm closing the file. And this is .env.local. Okay, so I'm pasting it, I'm saving it, I'm closing that file. And now I've set up my project so that it has the environment variable inside. Okay, so that way I have my GPT script like so. Cool. The next point, we need to go ahead and export the default G instance, right? So now we can go ahead and use this and it's set up the way we need it. Okay. So over here now, heading back over to our route. This is going back to the streaming. German Sam goes, I'll join the Papa Fam after making this project. Thanks, bro. You're not only ever a teacher, you're a brother, and let's take it. Yeah, man. It's a family. That's why I call it the Papa Fam. 100%, dude. Give this a try. I promise you, you will absolutely love Zero to Full Stack Hero. paparia.com/course for anyone else who's interested. It's the place to be, right? We've even got our own students inside the call right now, or inside the live stream right now. So you can ask them questions and anything like that, right? But it's a family of developers. It really is. And it's lifelong, right? Which is the main thing that separates us from everyone else. So const run equals await. And this is where we do G. And you can see I can import my G from lib GPTScript. And we do run opts, okay? So we do run opts like so, okay? Cool. Actually, no, script. Sorry, script and then opt. Now script, where is the script, okay? So for the script, we have to put a path to our file. So in this case, you're probably wondering, can I not do this? Well, it actually has a little bit of a clash. So I would recommend you do at the top level. So app/API/run script, Storybook GPT. I kind of ran into an issue with that a little bit intense, right? So somebody goes, hello from Finland. What did you build so far? So far, we've built the front, the client side. We're just building this streaming API endpoint right now. So you've come to the really juicy part, right? So in this case, we've got the script. That's the location of the script. So we're running the script with the options that we passed in here. Cool. Now, this is where the cool part happens. We need to go ahead and actually test out the run. Okay, so we're going to say run on, and this is where we basically use the types that we pulled in. So here we have run event type, right? So you want to say run on run event type dot event. Right, so obviously as everything comes through GPTScript, they come through as like these events. So events are constantly being fired off from the AI agent. We want to listen to them and basically encode it inside of our controller, so that way we can stream it off to the client, right? So in this case, we do event, and then we say for every single bit of data that comes through, we're gonna have an arrow function, and then I want to do controller.enqueue. Okay, now what this is doing is basically, like I said before, is preparing all the data in the way that it needs to be sent across to the client. So I'm actually going to modify it slightly here by basically passing it through. I'm doing string interpolation, saying event colon JSON stringify the data, and then I'm breaking the lines up like so, right? So there's 2 line breaks. So what I'm doing is I'm basically creating a stream of these. So it will basically constantly throw that to the front end, okay? So every time a new event comes in, it will go ahead and do that. And then what we do is we say await run.text. And this will essentially kickstart things off. And then after all that is done, we can say controller.close, okay? And then that will basically have, so this is responsible for the stream. Now, how do we send that to the front end, right? So we've obviously prepared this perfect controller to get everything up and running, but how do we actually send it to the front end? And how do we tell the front end, keep the connection open because I'm streaming stuff to you? Well, this is where headers come into play with responses. So what we do is we say return new response, right? And look at this, we can do response. And then here we say we pass in the stream. Okay, so we're actually passing the stream back, and here's where the important part happens. So that's exactly what we wanted actually. So it was there, it was headers, and we pass in the content type is a text event stream. Okay, think about it. What we just prepared here is all an event stream. Cache control, we're not going to cache. We want it to be fresh every time. And the connection, this is where the magic happens. The connection says keep it alive. Okay, so you can actually go ahead and have this like so. I believe you can do the same for this part. No, we can't do that bit for that part, but yeah, you can have it as that because it's one word. So there you go. Okay, So we actually got a question right now in the channel. Hey, saying I'm a beginner web developer. I have a question. How much time does it take to get to your coding level? Put it this way, change your mindset to become a lot more about how can I just constantly be learning. I'm constantly learning as well. Same thing for you guys. It really does depend on how much effort you're putting in. But I would say I'm still learning to this day. So the point is your mindset should be about constantly learning, constantly evolving, right? So we've gone ahead and created the stream, which is the cool part. And now we're going to go ahead and consume it from the front end. Okay. So we've got a post request endpoint. Go over to your story writer. And I'm not joking, it's almost like it's gonna come together so fast and you're gonna be like, what? It works? That's crazy, right? So at this point, we got this down here. We got the console log. There we go, streaming started, we can say. And then I want you to do the following. I'm gonna say const reader, right? So obviously when we get that, response flowing in, the body actually has a reader attached to it. So we're going to say get reader from the body. And then we need to basically decode it, right? We need to go ahead and decode the contents of the reader. So we need to say equals new text decoder, right? And don't worry if this is going a bit intense right now. I'm making it simple for you, right? So we've got the decoder. Now, we're going to create a function called handle stream. And we're going to go ahead and pass it through, right? So we're going to say reader and decoder, right? So we need to create this handle stream function. Okay, so heading back over to the runs on top of run script, we're going to create another function here. Well, actually, you know what? To make it a bit more consistent, underneath this function, we would put it, and we're going to have an asynchronous function called handle the stream. Oops, sorry, handle stream. And this takes in the reader itself, which is actually something called a readable stream default reader. So it's actually exactly what I wanted there. So readable stream default reader uint8 array. So that's the type of data that kind of flies across, right? That's how it gets sent over. And then the decoder is a text decoder, okay? So we go ahead and we create our function. And this is where we have to basically go ahead and manage the stream that is flying in from the backend, right? So manage the stream from the API, okay? So here, what we do is so this is the only time, I would say, the only time a while, right? This is gonna blow your mind. A while can be used, right? So a while kind of loop, right? So in this case, a while, so while true. So be careful with whiles because you can get into infinity loops, right? While true, right? We're gonna say const done, and we need the value, and we're gonna say await reader.read. So this is basically the reader as it flies through with its events. One of the attributes that comes back is a done at a variable. Now, when that done variable is true, it indicates to our front end to break, basically, right? We have to say, okay, when it's done, you need to go ahead and stop. So we need to say break, right? So that's how we break out of the infinity loop, right? So this breaks out of the infinity loop, right? So this is so important, right? If you don't have that, this is going to forever run. Right, and it's definitely gonna go ahead and do it. So whiles are wild, yeah. So you use a wild with caution. Okay, guys, we're almost at 300 likes as well, so we're actually blowing up right now. This is pretty cool, right? So now we need to go ahead and decode the uint8 array into a string. So this is basically how the data flows in. So as the data comes in now, we need to decode it. So we're gonna call these chunks. Okay, so we're gonna say const chunk equals decoder.decode, and we've got the value itself that comes in. So it's the value that comes in from the reader, and then we're just going to basically go ahead and say that it's a stream. So in this case, stream true. Okay, so this informs it that it's a what have I done here wrong? Oh, sorry, here. Yep, there you go. So if I make that easier for you guys, you can see stream. Yep, true. There you go. Right, so we get chunks. Now these chunks are essentially, if I go ahead and give you a little bit of an explanation on top of every line, I think it will help you out. So decoder is used to decode the uint array into a string. Think about it, as data flies across an API, it flies across as a text string, right? So you need to go ahead and make sense of it. So on the client, we're basically doing all the work to unpack it. Now we've got these chunks. Now I'm going to go ahead and further split the chunks into events. So remember, when we went ahead and prepared it, right? So over here, we encoded it as events. So what I'm doing now is I'm basically doing the reverse. I'm going to go ahead and split up the data by doing the following. I'm saying const event equals chunk dot split on the NN. So in this case, remember we done NN at the back. So it's going to break it up based on the NN. So every 2 new lines, it will split it. Then we're filtering it and we're saying, okay, give me all the lines that start with event. So I only want the events to come through, right? And then we've got the map, right? So in this case, we map through every single event and we're replacing the event line with basically we're removing it, right? And the reason why we've done this now is, you see what we've done is we've essentially gone through the events and we've said, okay, this is a way that I can controllably determine from this stream what is events and what's not. So basically now I'm basically spliced, like getting rid of the event that I added on the back end, right? So since birth, I've been coding. No, since 17th, I think it's been about 12 or 13 years I've been coding now. So yeah, I'm really trying my best to share everything I know with you guys. And that's what I do with mentorship inside of Zero to Full Stack Hero at papareact.com/course. I'll say it a billion times because I try and push it so much, because that's where I can give you the most value inside of our mentorship course. Zero to Full Stack Hero, right? The next bit, we pass the JSON data and we update the state, right? So somebody says everything's going over my head. Yeah, this bit's quite intense, right? So what I would recommend is take your time. Essentially, all we're doing at a very simple level is basically we've created something called a stream from the API endpoint at the back to the client. So imagine a flow of data, and inside this flow of data is what the AI is sending over. So it's like, you know, it's working on something, it's making a completion, it's creating an image and so forth. All of that is flowing through the event, right? As chunks of data, right? So what we're doing now is as those chunks come in, I'm basically passing that. And so I'm basically saying, okay, this is an event. And what should I do with each event, right? So this is what we're essentially doing right now. So event data dot for each, right? So for each. And then what we do is we say for every single data, basic data piece, right? We're gonna have a try catch block here. And this is where I want you to be a bit more consistent, right? So somebody goes, why do we have to use streaming? Because streaming gives us the beautiful UI, guys, of when it flies through in real time. So if I go ahead and say, write a story about a developer who loves to code again and generate a story, if I wasn't streaming, this wouldn't look as cool. This wouldn't stream like this. Look, you want to have it like it's, the AI is alive right now. It's streaming those events in right now. That's what you want to have. So if we didn't do streaming, it would just kind of like block. Whereas this actually seems like there's an AI agent alive right now, thinking, working behind the scenes, doing its magic, and it's way cooler, right? So streaming, it's a bunch of use cases for streaming. When you're using GPT, that implements streaming, right? And that way, it's also more of a nicer user experience. So I hope that answers your question, right? Love your humble learning first, bro. Thank you so much, man. So in this case, we got the try. So in this case, we're going to pass the data. So we're going to say passed data equals JSON.pass the data. So every single chunk, we're mapping through it. We're passing the data. And now we can do what we need to do with it. Okay. So at this point, we can say if, and I'm basically doing like a switch really here. So, I mean, you could do it 2 ways really. You could do a switch on this, but I'm just going to have a bunch of if statements, and then you can feel free to rewrite. I'm doing the if statements because I think it's easier to explain. Oh yeah, this kind of coding is definitely, yeah, it's awesome. That's why I'm really showing you the back end part of it. So we can have a more depth to these builds, right? So this we're going to say if pass data is dot type, it's not progress, but we're going to go ahead and say if it's call progress. So these are all events that come from the back end, right? So event progress, and then we're going to say set the progress to the following. So 1 second, I'm just going to go ahead and say set progress to, set progress to this. Now this is a pass data.output, and then basically this is going to be the event itself, the content of it, right? So you don't need to worry too much about this part. Now, if you do want to see how I found these values and so forth, you can console log the pass data yourself and then check your terminal or check your, this is on the client. So you can go ahead and check your browser inspect and then actually find it for yourself. But I done a mixture of going into the type definitions as well as map it, console logging it to see what was inside and everything like that, right? So that's how I was able to do this, but I've saved you a bit of time to be able to help you out with that. The next part is setting the current tool. So pass data.tool.description. So this stuff all comes back in the way that we expected. So let's get pass data.tool.description. Handy, right? And then we can say else. If the pass data equals, this is not going to be call complete, this is going to be call start, right? Then what we do is we set the current tool to the tool description. So once the call starts, we're going to set the current tool. Else if, and we're going to check next if the run has finished. So I'm going to have the following, else if the pass data type equals run finish. And then I'm basically going to set our run finished and run started, right? So boom, boom, boom. There we go. Somebody goes, how's your code automatically generating? I'm actually using GitHub Copilot behind the scenes. So I use GitHub Copilot behind the scenes to go ahead and help this is an AI pair programmer, and basically it helps with auto completions. It is paid. So you pay, I think, $10 a month, but it's very handy. Okay. So in this case, if the run is finished, we go ahead and do the following. And then if for any other type of event, we go ahead and set something called the events. Now we don't actually have this state prepared yet. So we're going to say, the way I do this is I say every previous event. So set the current state. So whenever you do a set, for whatever reason, set run finished, set run started, and so forth, you can get the current state basically by doing this. You can say current run started or whatever it is, right? Current run started. If you do this, you'll have the current state and then what you're setting it to here, right? So I hope that helps out. So in this case, when we set the events, we're saying all the previous events, I'm going to create a new array. So that hence by the square brackets, copy in all the previous events and append the past data, so the new event, to the end of it. Okay. Now for this set events, obviously we need to actually go ahead and set up that state. But before we do that, in the catch block, we're going to say fail to pass to JSON if we don't understand what that JSON is. So going back up to the top now, I'm going to go over here and I'm basically going to pop in the following events, set events, use state. Now notice how I've used frame. If we go and do control spacebar, you'll see GPTScript imports frame. Now if we command click into it, you can see that this is all the type definitions for what we're essentially going ahead and using. Now, these frames give us all of the things that we need to know about a run. For example, the type, the different tools, and so forth, right? So in this case, if we're going to a call frame, you can see here, it tells us what tool is being used and so forth. So this is how I was able to determine all of those different variables here. So that in case you're wondering, how the hell did he know what to do and so forth? So that's pretty cool. Okay, so honestly, that would be way crazier building a self-management web. I want this stuff in it. Yeah, honestly, I'm telling you, this is really damn powerful, right? It's so honestly powerful. Dealing with GPTScript in future, which teaches us complete about. Yes, so this is honestly a first level about how to do it. If you want more content about GPTScript, let me know by dropping a comment, not a live stream comment, a comment on the video, and then I can show the guys over at GPTScript and we can get something work together, right? So I've been working with the team pretty awesomely to get this out for you guys. And there's a lot of learning on my side, but I'm really trying my best to keep it coming so I can keep on bringing value to you all, right? So at this point, handle stream is done, guys. So handle stream, we call it when we run the script, okay? So with that in mind, heading back down now to our generate story. I think we're ready to test this out, guys. The only thing that we need to do is the progress. I don't believe we're updating our progress anywhere. So events isn't being streamed in. The progress we did, oh, sorry, of course, we did the progress here when we did the call progress. So the only thing we need to do now is actually render the messages down here, okay? So we're gonna have a div, and then here we're gonna basically say, this is gonna have a space between every child element that we render in it. And then this is gonna have the event dot map. And for every single event, and of course you get an index as well when you map through, but for every single event, oops, that's actually wrong, what I've done here. We're gonna say this, yeah, event and index. And then here, we're going to go ahead and have a div inside of that. And remember, whenever you map, you should always be passing in a key. Now, in this case, I'm using the index. It's not ideal, right? But in this case, you could use like an event ID or something like that. But I'm not sure if they actually have an event ID. So in this case, we're going to stick with that. And we're simply going to say span And I'm keeping up to standard with what we did previously. So we're having that kind of UI of a chat, you know, kind of a terminal vibe going on. So we're going to have those 2 asterisks with the message itself. So like, hello, blah, 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 right? So in that case, we've got that. And then we're going to have the actual event itself. Now, the event itself, to render it out in a way that makes sense, right? So all of these you see here, these events, right? How do I render that? What's the logic behind making it look pretty and all that good stuff? So in order to get that down, all we're going to go ahead and do is we're going to create a helper function called render event message. So here, eventually it'll look something like this, render event message, and we pass in the event itself. Okay. So that will be how we get this down. I think I've messed up. Yeah, there we go. So now we just need to create this render event message. So heading over to our lib, go ahead and do render event message.ts. Yep. TSX. Yeah. Render event message.tsx. I think. No, it's not TSX. It's just TS. No, it is TSX. My bad. Yeah. So inside of here, first thing we're going to do, import frame, because we're going to be using this to help us out. We're going to create our function, which is render event message, which takes an event, which is the frame itself. And then we're going to export the frame at the bottom, render event message, sorry. So this is our helper function. Go back over to StoryWriter, go ahead and import it. And you should see that the error disappears. So type void is not assignable. That's because I haven't done a protective statement, which I've completely forgotten about. So inside of our StoryWriter, we just need a little block here, which says, as long as their events are there. So in this case, if I go over to events, this is all good. This is all good. Let's go down here. So type, oh yeah, so we're not returning anything. That's why. Yeah. So here we're returning null, essentially. That's why it's freaking out. So we need to go ahead and make sure that we return something here. So render the event message. So here is where I have the magic. So, okay. Now we're going to do a switch. So a switch statement basically takes a variable, so event type, and then we're essentially going to go ahead and have cases for every single different thing. So in this case, and notice how I'm actually rendering through event type. So if I click into this, you see I've got the run start, run finish, and so forth. So if I click through to this run frame, you see the type, run start, run finish, and so forth. But it's not just run frame, it's all of the frames. So call frame has its own types. So like call start, call chat, call confirm, and so forth. So we're basically going to go ahead and run through those. And those are enums, which represent something like this. It'll be run start and so forth, right? Now, notice how it fails if I do run start A, where run start is correct. So it's actually type protecting us pretty handily here. So we can go and say run start. And then each individual one is going to return some JSX. So here we're basically going to say run started at blah, blah, blah. So it's going to say run started at the event. And this is essentially how we're going to go ahead and format everything that comes through. So the next one is going to be call start. So when the call starts, we're going to say the tool is starting. Okay. And then we're going to carry on with the call chat. So we can say chat in progress with your chat input. So this is essentially how I'm making it look pretty on the front end with what the user, with the terminal or AI agent is doing. Right. So this is basically going ahead and taking all of those events, but making it more readable. Okay, so when the call finishes, we're going to say call finished, and we're event output and map, and we're just going to map through everything that it did inside of that call. Okay, and then we've got the run finish, where we basically say, okay, the entire run has finished. Okay, and then we've got sub calls, call continue, and call confirm. So these ones, I'm going to go through one of them, and I'm going to show you the code, in which case I'll explain what we're doing. But you can feel free to really pause the video here and look at what we're doing. So call sub calls, basically, this is where when AI determines that it needs to go ahead and use a separate tool. So inside of GPTScript, you'll see, look, subcall. Basically, let's look at this call, for example. If we go up to the top, look, call continues. So it uses a story writer. It picks out a tool, and then it has the input, which is the prompt that is determined. It'll give it. And then it's got a subcall. All right. And it says, all right, subcall. The next tool I need to use is a system.write. So it's writing that to a file, and with the file name, Then it determines, okay, I need to use the tool make directory. So I need to actually create that directory. Boom, it uses that tool. Then it determines, okay, I need to use a story illustrator again. Potentially, I guess this is to do the second page, and it does it over and over again and so forth. For example, system download is when it needs to go ahead and download the the image that is generated and so forth. So you see a lot is happening here. So what we're doing is subcalls in progress. We're mapping through all of those calls that come through, and then we're just rendering them out. So we're saying the output, and then subcalls, we're mapping through the subcalls, and we're basically showing that on the screen. So I've done the hard work of really passing all of that information. The call continue, essentially the exact same with the layout here. So really you can go ahead and do the following. So over here, call continue is the same thing. We essentially have the same logic here to ID. To be honest with you, you could even do, I think you can have separate call subcall or call continue. Can you do this? I can't remember. You can do this. I don't think so. I think you can have an array though here. But anyway, yeah, just to show you, call continue and then call confirm, same principle. Okay. So I'm going to just pop that in as well. Boom, here, call confirm. And then finally, if it doesn't, for every other, event that comes in that I haven't managed, right? So you should always have a default state inside of your switch statements. So that way, if this happens, do this and so forth. But the default fallback, if it doesn't have a catch case, like in this case, then it will just render out JSON stringify. And then if you JSON stringify, you've probably seen before, but if you do no 2, this will format it really nicely with like indents of 2. So it looks kind of cool on the screen, right? And that's typically how we see JSON vars when we render them out. So now that that's done, boom, we render out all of the events. So smash that like button because I'm about to demo this in real time, right? So let's go ahead and see if we did it all right. Then what we should be seeing, and I'm going to go ahead and make a little point to you as well, that this is a post endpoint. So in this case, I'm going to go ahead and close this second terminal right now. So here's our endpoint. So we go ahead and refresh the page. Look, we've got this. Now, when I type in here, so write a story about a, let's call it, give me a, not sure if you care about this front, but if you're advertising Copilot for free right now, could probably get a sponsor. Yeah, I know. I'll chat to him. We actually did work with Copilot with Microsoft. If you check a few videos back, we've actually used them. So we actually worked with them in the VS Code Day, which was awesome. Right? So we had a collaboration with Microsoft. Write a story about, give me a story, guys. Give me a story. I need to have a story. Write a story about a superhero who learns to code, right? How many pages should the story be? Let's just say 2, right? Generate story. Now, if we've done this correctly, when I hit this button, right, what's going to happen is essentially this will create a post request. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and draw this out. This will create a post request. So I'm going to go ahead and do it right now. This will create a post request to our backend. So I'm just going to visualize this as the backend, right? So this will create a post to the backend. Right, so the backend is our API endpoint. So it'll be like /API/run script. Right now, once this is done, guys, what will happen is it will basically send back a response with a stream of data, and it will say keep the connection alive. Right, so keep the connection alive. So this basically is streaming back the data saying keep the connection alive. So our client, so this is essentially, let's just simplify it very high level. Our client here is now getting this stream of data and it's passing all of the events that come through. So in storywriter.tsx, we actually did all of this. Remember, we actually went ahead and said, handle the stream. So run script, which then calls handle stream. And this is where essentially taking all of the events that come through. So all of the events that come through, and basically as an event comes through, so this is going to be like, several events, events fly through and we're passing it to basically be the output. And this is how we basically created a stream. Okay, so this is essentially creates a post and creates a request. This is a client, creates a request to the backend. Backend creates a stream, keeps the connection alive, starts streaming events to our front end, so back to the client, and then the client, we consume it by keeping the connection open and handling the stream. All right, so let's go ahead and click on generate story, and hopefully it's all good. So click generate story. AI Storyteller has started. Amazing. Let's see if it works. Oh, guys, just like that, it's streaming. All right, look at that. Boom, Command J. And right now, this is actually compiled the API run script. So it's actually using this right now. This is all happening on the back end right now. And look at this. Look, he even has to think about it waiting for the model response. It's trying to figure out what to do. The AI agent is in full force right now. And this is what's cool about the streaming part. So destroy that like button if you found that pretty damn cool. Look, you see that right now it's using the make directory to go ahead and start writing things. Now, we can see this in real time if we go over to the top level. Now look, in public, stories. Look, guys, look at this. Code Hero, the superhero. Look at that, look. Code Hero, the superpower within. It started writing the story, look, and it's writing it to our public directory. Look at this, page 1, page 2. It's actually writing the entire story. And you remember I said 2 pages, and I didn't tell it to do this, guys. Remember, this is the power of an AI agent, right? So look at that. It's actually doing, and now it just generated an image. So if we look at the logs here, it generated an image, and very shortly, it will actually go ahead and write the PNG files for those images. So in this case right now, let's go ahead and see, where did it do that? Did it quite high up? So here, so look, it generated an image. Boom, look at that. It's there. Oh my God, I need to go all the way down. See, let's go. Yeah, boom, look at that. And then it says, the story, superhero, the code hero, the superpower within has been successfully created and saved. The illustrations for each page have also been downloaded. You can find the story and illustrations at blah, blah, blah. Right, nice. Just click on page. Look at this, guys. Page 1, page 2. Awesome stuff. Look at that. I mean, it's still AI in the end of the day, so it's trying to get it right. But that's kind of a cool little kind of example of like coding through the laptop when you're looking at it this way. And this is awesome, right? So look at this. I maxed over deeper, and this will all make sense in regard to that image. So just like that, we've gone ahead and the AI agent has actually created it. So that's awesome, right? So firstly, destroy the like button for that. Page 2 might have some copyright issues. Yeah, I might do if there's, I mean, it's like a Alibaba Superman. Can we write blog posts? Yes, of course you can. 100%, guys. You can write blog posts. You can do everything really with this. It's really, really cool. And all of this happened inside of by using this Storybook GPT logic, right? Now, in this case, we've got some arguments where it goes ahead and we've defined what the tool is. For example, Storywriter, we've gone ahead and said, you know, here's the prompts and pages and the temperature. But you notice how the only thing I gave it was story, pages, and path. I want to stress this out, right? I only gave it the story, pages, and path. After that, the AI agent goes ahead and basically performs this. Then it starts to recognize that I have this tool at my facility. The tool takes a prompt and pages. So I need to make a prompt which fits in with this tool. And you can see like your accomplished children's story, you like to write with style that's appropriate for children, but it's still interesting to read, And then you can basically input the prompts and everything, and it will generate all of that by itself, right? Return the story, illustration style, and character descriptions. And then we've got Story Illustrator, and this is where I'm using a tool which is online, and you can see I've even forked this tool and made it a little change to it myself. So if we go to this, you can see I've actually forked a public repo here, and you can see this is actually the tool itself. And inside of here, it has a tool.gpt file. So it goes ahead and pulls a tool from this repo, uses this tool, and this is essentially where it uses Python behind the scenes, and it creates the image using a DALL-E, right? So this is really powerful stuff, guys, no joke, right? So that way it goes ahead and does that. And then we also give it another tool in the event that it needs to go ahead and create a directory. And using all of these tools, it was able to go into my public folder, add the story like follows, and actually go ahead and save it to the file. So really like, boom, mind-blowingly powerful stuff here. I found it absolutely amazing when I used it for the first time. Just think about the SaaS applications you can build here. Like truly, nothing like this is on YouTube yet. So if you're here, congratulations, because I feel like you're at the forefront of what you can do. Cool. All right. So at this point, we need to go ahead and render it, right? So at this point, if we click on Explore Story Library, we'll get 404. So we need to actually render out our story. So this is the fun part now. We've done the AI agent intelligent part of the build. Now we're essentially going to go ahead and build out the UI, okay? So in this case, let's go ahead and jump through. So inside of our app, we're going to create a folder called Stories. And then this is going to represent the /stories directory. And inside of here, we're going to have page.tsx. So at the /stories, we're going to have a web page, which looks something like this, RFCE. We can go ahead and get rid of this, and we can just say stories. So stories page, all right? Now, in this instance, remember everything inside of Next.js 13 upwards by default is a server component. Yes, 100% guys, you can use this to really kind of generate whatever you want. The point of an AI agent, just to put into context for you, is to basically think about it this way. Completions APIs like OpenAI simply go ahead and just whatever we've given it, like, you know, hi there, tell me about something. That's the prompt, you get a response. But now we're going to go ahead. We've actually introduced this layer of ability to it, right? So it's got the kind of power behind it now of saying, yeah, you've got all these tools. Here's the initial prompt, run with it and do what I want you to do. So you're basically giving it like a layer of ability, put it that way, and you can basically now go ahead and do a lot more powerful things. So this is really like the forefront of really cool stuff that's about to come out in the world, right? So I'm going to do a couple of imports at the top for what we're going to need down the line. So let's go ahead and pop these in, and then I also need a few more things here. So boom, pop it in like so. Okay, now we don't have our own story definitions yet, and we don't have our get all stories function. So we're going to create those very shortly. So first up, the stories themselves. So these stories here, the ones that are in our public folder, stories page 1 and page 1.text. My neck. Oh, those we're going to create some type definitions, that way we can safely access them without making a mistake. So at the top of our folder structure, package.json, create a folder called types, and inside of this we're going to go ahead and pop in a type definition. We're going to call this one stories.ts, right? Stories.ts, right? Thank you, Yoni, I appreciate you. Let's check this out. Let's go ahead into stories.ts, and I'm going to pop in two type definitions. So page, which is text and PNG, and story, which consists of different pages, as well as the story being the string itself. Okay. So do we need a paid OpenAI key to consume GPTScript? Well, yes, because you can remember, if you sign up for free, you can to OpenAI, you get a free credit initially. And that will help you out. And then obviously it is using AI models, like LLMs behind the scenes. So obviously that consumes some computing power. So you're going to have that. So that's essentially the answer to your question. Yoni says GPT tools with the GPT bit event epic proper. Yeah, honestly, it's just so sick. Like what you can do is really cool. Heading back over to page.tsx. Now we can import our story. So like so. And then get all stories. Because we are in a functional a server component by default, we can actually go ahead, guys, and get we can do something cool here, because we basically can do any kind of async await here. But typically, if we were making a fetch call here, I would make this an asynchronous function. However, in this case, the actual data is on our server itself, or our file system itself, so it's in public. So we don't actually need the async await, but we're going to create a function for getting all the stories. Now, I'm going to show you a little bit of something we haven't done in a build before. We're going to go ahead and get all the stories. These are going to be a story array. And this get all stories function, we're going to create inside of lib. So over here, inside of there, get all stories.ts. Let's go ahead and get all stories. Where did I put that? I think it was inside of, so I actually call it the stories, but yeah, you can call it whatever you want. Get all stories. Let's go ahead and create a function for that. Let's go ahead and export that, actually make life a bit easier for ourselves. Actually, we're going to use, we'll call this one stories.ts, right? And then, because there's going to be stories like lib helper folder. Import our stories type. So we're going to have this as one function, okay? And then we're also going to have, what have I done here? Yeah, so we're not returning anything, that's why it's freaking out. I'm also going to have a get story function, which is going to be as follows afterwards, right? So we've got get all stories and then get single story. Okay, this is going to be for the caching aspect later on. So first up, in this function, we're going to go ahead and basically say access the public file, the files, and retrieve all the stories. Right? So retrieve all the stories. And this is essentially saying go into our file structure, get all the stories. So we now need to actually read the code, read the file system, right? So what we're going to do now is we need the stories directory. So first things first, the story directory, we need to give it the path. Now the path, we actually need to go ahead and import two helper functions. One is called path and one is called fs for file system. And now you can see here, this is where we're storing our public stories. So public/stories. Okay. Now for this, what we can do is we can go ahead and type in, we can say if the file system, basically we're going to check if that directory exists, right? Then we're going to, if it doesn't exist, sorry. So in the beginning, it might not exist, for example, right? We're going to prevent our code from freaking out and breaking by simply returning an empty array, right? So that will help us out quite a bit. In the meantime, however, we can go ahead and say, if it does exist, then we want to read the directory. So to read it and get all of the folders inside of here, right? What we do is we simply say const story folders file system read the directory, and we pass it to the directory, okay? And then what we can do is we can map through, right? So what we do is we say const stories, stories, and these are going to be a story type. So in this case, we're going to make sure it goes through like that. We say story folders dot map, and for every single story folder, for every single story folder, I want to do something. Okay, so in this case, now I want to basically map through. So for every single story folder, I want to basically get the story path, which is basically the stories directory / the story folder. So that's essentially the path. And then we basically read the files inside of that path. So essentially we're going into the stories inside of the story folder, and then we're reading the files inside of that path. Okay, so that's the first step. And in this case, obviously the files in this one are all of this, because these are all the files relating to the thing. Is that, in fact, it's actually more the pages that we're actually getting here of each story. So I hope that doesn't get too confusing, but yeah, that's essentially what we're actually doing. Yeah, so I was a little bit confusing. So with that done, now we're going to say const pages equals a page array, and this page is going to be from our stories, and this is going to start off as an empty array. Okay, so we're firstly going to define like that, and then we're going to basically create something called a partial. So what we're doing here is we're basically creating a page map, and this is going to be handy for basically referencing all of this. And it's basically just going to have a key which is going to represent the page itself, like page 1, for example, and then the partial will represent the text or PNG. Okay, so we're essentially going to go ahead and create like these objects which represent each page. So what we do is we say if there is a, oh sorry, I forgot to do that. So now we've got to map through the files, right? So we say files for each file. So now imagine we're mapping through each of these files. So for each file, I want to go ahead and do something. So here I'm going to say if there is no page map, so we'll just let page map page number. So essentially I'll show you what we do, because basically once I do this, I will actually go ahead and show you what we end up doing, what actually comes out. So page number, I forgot to do the next step. So before this, we need to get a few things. We need to go ahead and get the, so you see how we're basically accessing every single file. So obviously now we entered this one, we've got all the files. The next thing is we need the file path, which is actually the file, and then we join on the story path. So we're slowly traversing through into each thing. So now we'll have stories / page 1 PNG. Okay, so that'll be the file path. And then we get the type, which is the extension at the end. So we basically substring it, and we get like if it's PNG or if it's this and that. And then we basically go ahead and match it to say if it's page 1, page 2, so forth, right? So we've got the page number, and now we're basically going ahead and saying if page map in define cannot be used as a blah blah blah. So I've actually, 1 minute, let me just double check something. I made a little bit of a hiccup, I believe. Is it here? Nope, sorry. Page number. Okay, so we'll carry on until we get to the bottom of this. So I think it was, oh yeah, that was it, sorry. This whole thing needs to be in a protected block. So we need to say if it found a page number, that was it, sorry. If it found the page number, then we start doing this stuff, okay? Now, the actual page map is what we're building here, okay? So essentially what we're doing here is, imagine we've got an object, something that looks something like this, right? You got an object, and then it will be like page 1, and then inside of our object, it'll be looking something like, it'll be PNG, and then it'll give us the following and so forth. So it'll be like, I can't explain it properly, but okay, it'll make sense when I do this, right? So we've got the actual page map. Just give me a second and then we will do it. Yeah, so it'll make a lot of sense what we do now. So essentially I'm checking the type of the file. So I'm saying if the type is text, right, then the page number dot text, right? So in this case, you see we're making a map. So it'll be like a map of, and then the key will be page 1 dot text, page 1 dot png, and then we're giving it the value. So eventually when we come to access it, we can go ahead and just do like page 1 dot text, page 1 dot png, and it will go ahead and give us the image, right? So that definitely helps everything else out. See you later, German Sam. Thank you so much. This guy is amazing. Thank you so much, Kai. I appreciate you. Right now, once that's all done, right? So once we have done all of the kind of file preparations, we can map through all of the keys of the page map, right? So we map through all of the keys of the page map. So that'll be page 1 and page 2. And we're saying for every single page number, right, we're basically going to go ahead and say if it's got, only if it's got both the text files and the PNG files, are we going to push it into our page's result? Okay, so we're going to push it as a page into our page's result. So basically what I'm saying here is, if for whatever reason we actually forgot to go ahead and or for whatever reason it didn't generate an image, I don't want to go ahead and show you that story, so it's not going to include it in the results, right? Thanks, you are all my family. Love you, dude. I appreciate you so much, man. Thank you so much. That's what Papa Fam's about, right? We're a family of developers, in fact the biggest there is, right? And then we're going to return the story, and then we're basically going to have the story folder, and we're going to return the pages themselves. Now the story folder, notice how it says code hero, the superpower within, so it's got all these dashes between it. I want to clean that up a bit, right? So eventually we're going to have something like this. It'll be clean title, and then we're going to pass in the folder name, and then that basically will mean that the story itself doesn't have these dashes and everything inside of it. So I want to have this lib folder, lib file. So we're going to our lib, and we call clean title.ts. I'm going to create a little helper function right now, and all this helper function is going to do is it's basically going to go ahead and, very simple, very simple. Oops. It takes a title, returns a string, and all it's doing is it's returning the title, and where you've got some regex here, which basically just checks for any of the common sort of separators. So you're talking the dashes, or the kind of, you know, I think we're doing dashes, and we're doing, I think it's the closing brackets or something here. Sure. I actually use GPT to help me out with this. I hate regex. Don't worry about it. Use GPT. It doesn't matter, right? And there's lots of tools that help us out. We replace empty spaces with a space as well, and then we trim it for any empty space at the end of it, and then we return. Then we export the file so we can actually use this function. Now, if it's a one-liner like this, you can do a neat little trick where you can go ahead and have something like this. You can have const clean title like this, boom, and then you can actually go ahead and say, if you're going to do an arrow function, show you a little trick, guys. So in this case, this returns, but if you've got a one-liner, you can actually make this something like that. If you didn't know, now you know, right? So now that's a one-liner because it's essentially like this, and then you've chained it all together. So this is called an implicit return, right? So in this case, it's implicitly returning with the arrow function, okay? So we can go ahead and do that. That's why you create some clean ass code. Right? So in this case, we got that. Now we clean title, import it, and boom, we have the error disappearing here. The error is freaking out here still because return is freaking out because we haven't actually returned the correct. We haven't returned the story. There we go. So after we've done this, we've basically, remember, all of that was inside of the stories mapping. So we're mapping through all of the different stories in the folders. So that's correct, actually. Sorry, it is mapping through the correct stories. Yeah. Then we're going to go ahead and say const stories with pages. And you can even have like, sorting functions and everything else as well. But here we're going to filter through and only show the pages that exist with more than one page, right? So obviously if they have with more than 0 pages, so if it has a page, then it will come up in our library. Else we don't want to show it, right? It could be an error or something. So return stories with pages, nice. And then we've got a little helper function here, get story. All this is doing, guys, is it uses the top function to get all the stories from the file system. And then it basically goes ahead and returns where the story that we passed in, the text string, matches the story of the one inside of our directory. So a little helper function to help us out. Now we've got all of our helper functions set and done, we can actually get started. So we can actually get all the stories here. So if I go ahead and do console log stories, let's check in our directory here. Look, it's rendered on the server, hence why it comes here. Look at that, story, code hero, the superpower within with 2 pages. Awesome stuff. And look how the clean title actually worked. So really, really nice little execution there. So if we go back now to, my neck is hurting. Wow. Little water break quickly, actually. Smash the like button if you're enjoying this. Now we're going to have the UI part. This is where it looks really pretty and everything looks nice. And we do everything the way that we've expected, right? So here we have the div. So this part is actually kind of more a case of if you care, you can follow along. If you don't, you can get the code access afterwards inside the public GitHub repo. But we basically got a grid column. On mobile view, it's going to be singular. As it gets bigger, we increase the number of columns and the gap between everything will be 5. Okay, so in this case, we've got the stories and then we're going to map through every single story, right? So firstly, I'm also going to have a, sorry, I actually messed that one up. We should have a div surrounding all of this. This div will have a padding of 10, right? So padding of 10, where'd it go? Oh yeah, we don't have anything there. Yeah, that's fine. Max width of 7 XL. We know because it's a little habit, right? You should never have the width going too big. Otherwise, it will really kind of throw things off. So it's kind of a good standard to have that. And then MX Auto, make sure. And we're building this in case you're wondering, guys. So we're building this. Now you see how the max width is 7 XL and it's centered. So that's how this does. Max width 7, MX Auto centers it. Inside of here, this is where we actually map through. Now, I do want to say if there are no stories found, then we are going to show that, right? In this case, we do have a story. So we're going to map through that story and show it. So here we're going to say stories.map. For every single story, I'm going to go ahead and return something, right? So in this case, I'm going to return a link tag. So it's a Next.js link. And the link is actually going to go towards / story. So we're going to use a bit of string interpolation here. So / stories / the story itself. So story. And look at this, pages.story. So our type definitions came in handy here. Boom, right? Now inside of here, you have the actual, so if I was just to simply put here now the story, just to show you something here, story.story, you can see, look, code hero, whoa, and if I click it, it will take me to stories / that story. So awesome stuff. It's looking really nice. But instead of that, we want it to be really beautiful and look something like this. This is way nicer, right? So first things first, we have a div. Inside of our div, well, outside of the div actually, we're going to have a h2, and this is where we'll have the story.story. So that's where we have that. So we can obviously see it. And then we have the actual images itself and the hover effects and everything else. So what we do is we have a p tag, and next to that we have an image tag. All right, so we're just going to break it down nice and easy. The image tag, fairly straightforward. This one is going to have a source. The source is going to be the story.pages, and we're going to grab the first page and the image of the first page. All right, so it's going to be image.png. See there? And then we give it the alt text, which is going to be the story itself. And I'll give it a little bit of styling here as well. Yeah. Now you can see, boom, aha, looks nice already, right? And then obviously, because it's using the next image tag, it's going to actually cache it, which is obviously nice, right? So it's always going to be nice and up to scratch. Now, in this case, where we've got the p tag, let's go ahead and do book open. So we're going to have a book open, and then we're going to show the number of pages as well. So a book open shows the book, and we've got the number of pages. So this is obviously saying pages.length. If it's 1, we say 1 page. Otherwise, we say pages, plural. Okay. And then we're going to go ahead and style this out so it looks like this with the nice hover effects and everything, right? Because that's what's missing right now. So this div should be relative because we're going to absolutely position some stuff here. This one is going to be absolutely positioned. So absolute. You see how it goes absolutely inside of it. It's going to be a flex container with the items centered. We're going to have a top and we're going to have right 0. And you see how it flies to the right? And then we're going to style it out with some colors, some padding, and some smaller text. So I'll go ahead and pop that in like so. And you can see immediately we've done that, right? So like just small things come together very quick, right? For the link tag, we're going to go ahead and do a class name, apply a bit of styling. Now here, very simple bit of styling as well. We've got the border around the corners, cursor pointer when you hover over it. When we hover, the shadow kind of comes underneath it, as well as the border will change color. And to get the nice smooth animation, you can say transition on all the elements, duration 300, and ease both the in and out moment. So when I hover over, look at that. Oof, very nice. Look at the shadow that comes up. Very, very nice, right? And the only extra thing we have to do here is the H2. So H2 would say, we've got text large, bit of padding, and then we've got this nice little modifier called first letter. So first letter, colon, text 3XL. So here, text 3XL. Now you can see the first letter goes large. Look at that, guys. Absolutely beautiful. And look how the grid columns are working in full force. So you see how it's the first story there? Click it and it takes us to the story. Amazing stuff. Right? Really, really awesome, guys. Angung said, because of you, I learned how to code right now. Thank you, mate, from Indonesia. Dude, that's what I'm talking about. Jay, screenshot these. Absolutely phenomenal stuff. Thank you so much for sharing that with us. I'm going to change my white balance. There we go. I was looking a bit orange. I was wondering, why am I looking orange? Cool. And then we have Sam. How do I start development, brother? I recommend consume the free content on YouTube, as well as obviously if you want to join a paid community where you get mentorship, where you get coaching calls, where you get an awesome community that will help you go through those tough times where you're experiencing bugs and everything like that. Join the Zero to Full Stack Hero community. The link is in the description, papareact.com/course. Right. So let's go back into the build. Already this is looking absolutely amazing, guys. I'm actually going to go ahead and generate one more story to show you that bit before we move on to the final part, which is the last book. So I'm going to say write a story about a AI robot who learns to code, right? This might not be appropriate for kids. I might end up saying inappropriate for kids. So we can go ahead and see how it works. So that one page, I'm not done 2 pages. So write a story, So Robo's coding adventures. Once upon a time in a bustling city failed. Well, look at that. There you go. So it starts doing it. Quick water break while it's writing. Awesome stuff, guys. So that's going ahead and building it. Dev Tip says, hi Sunny, thanks for the tutorial. Appreciate it. I came across your Uber clone. It's informative. How to add ride tracking. What is the best way? Socket.io or Firebase real time? I can't answer these things right now because obviously we're in the middle of a build, but I'd recommend checking out Zero to Full Stack Hero. Join our community. The coaching calls weekly is where we debate this kind of stuff. What's better? What should I be using? What is the best thing to do? So that's what I would say. Typically I go Firebase route, but you could also, if you need a bit of control, Socket.io under the hood is essentially what Firebase is doing anyway. But in this case, this is going to go ahead and draw out the rest of it. So while this is doing its magic, we can carry on with the build. So our next step, right, is actually we need to go ahead and create the route that this will take us to. So inside the stories, we're going to have several different IDs, right, which are going to be created. So in this case, inside the stories, we might have localhost 3000/stories/ the boy who done something else, right? So it could be a wild dynamic card. So here we're gonna have an ID, and this is called a wild card. So it supports any value inside of there. So if we create a page, now we're essentially creating infinite number of pages that support that ID. Okay. So inside of here now we can say RFCE, and this is gonna essentially represent the story page. Okay. So the story page, pretty cool, right? This one is actually gonna be fairly straightforward. Now, the ID itself that I talked about, this one here, the ID itself, to get that, we actually can get access to it via the props. So here you get props that get passed through, and we can actually destructure this, get the params outside and get the ID. and we can go ahead and call this the story page prop. So we can actually go ahead and get these out, and depending on what you've called your wildcard, in this case, I've called it ID. So we can use ID here. We can go ahead and reference that and get it, right? So we can go ahead and say const ID is from the params, right? So in this case, actually we've already done that here, so you don't even need to destructure it. You can just, we've already got the ID there. Now what we can do is we can decode the URI component. So I've added a little bit of an explanation here. So typically when you get any kind of URI, for example, let's just do a little test here. So if I go to, we should have generated the story, Robo's Coding Adventure, awesome stuff. Let's go ahead and check it out. Robo's Coding Adventure, look at that, guys. So when I click this, notice how the URL that we've gone to is Robo's and then %20, and that represents a space, right? So that's because it's encoded as a URI component. So we need to decode the URI component to get the actual ID. And then what we can do is we can go ahead and say decoded URI, decoded and then decoded ID, and that represents this, right? So look at this, guys. You can see there, boom, Robo's Coding Adventure, right? Awesome stuff. So you've got this, which is really cool. Next up, we have the, we need to actually go ahead and get the story. Okay, so remember we created a helpful get story function. So we can go ahead and do that right now. Get story, we'll go ahead, get all the stories, and it'll find the one that we did. So awesome stuff. We'll get the story, and we can go ahead and prove that it actually gets the story now by doing this, right? So look at that, and look, boom, gives us the story. We console log it out. You can go ahead and see we actually are missing a key somewhere, so I need to go ahead and make sure that all of my mapping functions have got a key. So we want to go ahead and fix that afterwards, and then I guess the next step is if there is no story, we're going to return something called a not found, and this is a part of Next navigation. So if I went to a page that didn't exist, like what was this, 1, 2, 3, it will take me to a 404, and you can go back to the home page. You see that? So we want to obviously support that to make things a bit more efficient. So we can go ahead and do it. If there's no story, return not found. Otherwise, we're simply going to return the story. So we're going to return an actual story component where we take the story as an argument. Okay. And we obviously need to create that component. Nice. Cool. Now, the final thing that we are going to do is I'm actually going to go ahead, and this is part of a caching strategy now. So we need to create this component afterwards. And actually what I did here is I messed up because I called this story page. So you want to go ahead and call this one and this one to avoid a clash. We're going to go ahead and say story page like so. And then this one is obviously a new component. Otherwise you have a kind of circular naming thing going on. Right, so what we can do now is we can actually use a special function called generate static params. Now why this is handy is because at build time we can actually construct all of the pages which exist. So this is basically a caching technique in Next.js, and I talk about this a lot inside of the course. So generate static params, what we can do is we can essentially prepare Next.js to say, okay, here's all the stories that you can go ahead and get. So we use our helper function, and then we determine all of the paths. So we're basically saying, okay, before it's even built, we need to basically generate a static page for each story. So this will essentially go ahead and create, there you go, look, ID story 1, ID story 2, and so forth, right? So this will actually go ahead and pre-build all of the pages, which improves the performance of our website dramatically, right? So it really, really helps out the sort of performance side of things. So now what we can do is this will, then all we need to do is return the paths. Right? So by doing this, now it will know at build time to pre-build those pages, right? Which actually helps us out a ton. And then you can actually go ahead and revalidate this page because, not this page, but you would revalidate this one to make sure that it's not cached, the version that you're seeing, right? So this page, we might want to run fresh every time. So we can actually do something like this, equals 0, export const revalidate. 0, and this will basically mean that it's server side rendered every time. So server side render this page, because we always want to have the new stories. And what you could do is you could even say 60 seconds. That way every like 60 seconds it will go ahead and do it. But in this case we're just going to play it safe, and every single time we'll server side render the page. But for the actual individual pages, we're going to go ahead and make sure that they're cached, because once they're ready, they're not going to change. Okay, so let's go ahead and create the story component. So inside of here, our components, we're going to create story.tsx, right? So story.tsx. Now in here, we're going to go ahead and create a functional component. So boom, this is our component like so. It takes some props. The props are as follows, right? The story itself. And then we need to go ahead and import our story type definition. So our story type definition is actually from type story. So in this case, this actually, so what I've done here is because we've got the story clash here. So we could rename it to story component, but what I've done instead is I've imported the story type and I've renamed it as story type. That way we can use story as the component name, which is kind of a lazy workaround, which is, yeah, works. All right. So in this case, that's cool. We go back to our story, do an import. It's not picking it up yet because I believe we have to go ahead and import like so. Sometimes it doesn't work the way we expect it. So I haven't actually exported my story. That's why. Yeah, export default story. And now if we go back, our story should get rendered out. And this is freaking out because we are not passing in the story as expected, I think, because we're not returning anything here. That's why. So we return null. You'll see that yeah, that's valid now. All right, so there we go. So this is working. Obviously, we need to build out the story now. So this is the magical part, which is awesome. We can basically have the story looking all like really nice now. I also forgot to do one extra step, I believe, inside of story writer. I forgot to do a use effect. So, oh no, we can do that afterwards. That's actually the toast notification. So we can do this toast notifications afterwards. But for the story itself, so inside of the story component itself here. So at this point now, the story component itself, we're going to do, we've got a div within a div, right? So in this case, div within a div. So using Emmet, help us out a little bit. The outside div has a padding X of 20. And right now, guys, for reference, we are building this. Let's do Sunny Learns to Fly. Look at that. We're building this carousel, right? Really nice, like visual book, right? So the carousel, how the hell do we build that? Well, in this case, we're going to use a nice little component from Shadcn. You can see here, we've got this carousel component. Really, really nice. So we can go ahead and add the carousel. So going back over to our code, Command J. Let's go back over. I'm going to cut my terminal. Well, I didn't need to cut it, to be honest, but Command K to clear it. I'm going to install this. And then we're going to rerun our components. So we're going to npm run dev, rerun our app, split the terminal. Typically, I install on this terminal for new stuff rather than cutting this one. Cool. We also need the card, right? So card is what we need here. So we're going to do boom, npx install latest card. And yeah, that's exactly what we need. So next up, we have the actual carousel itself. Now, in order to interact with this carousel, you'll find down here, they have an example of something called the API. So this is how we can use state to basically manage the contents. You see like slide 3 or 5 and so forth, right? Now, what we do is we essentially go ahead and create something like this. We say use state the carousel API. So what I do is I go into my code. I'm going to create some use state. I'm going to go ahead and get rid of that. Import use state. This is obviously going to be a client component then because we're using state. So we need to tell React that nope, you are using a client component. And then we import the carousel API. Once that's done, we basically go into our div and then we basically say carousel, right? And inside of it, we say set the API. So in this case, firstly, let's import the UI. So actually, I'm going to do all of the imports for the carousel and the card components. So these ones right here, I've already imported the carousel API there. And then here we can say set API. And now you can see it's popping up. We pop in the API. Or actually here we actually use our setter function. So we say a set API like so. And then we've got the class name, so we can style it up. So here I can go ahead and say W full, so width is going to be full, and then the height and so forth, right? I've gone ahead and basically restricted the height to, on a large screen, 4/5. Otherwise, it's going to be the width 4/5, and then MX will auto center it, right? Now inside of it, we've got the carousel content, right? So firstly, the carousel content is going to be here. So we're going to have the carousel content, and then obviously we have the stories here, like the story pages, right? And then after that, you actually just have to put in carousel previous and next to have the buttons to click left and right. So here is where we render out the story dot pages dot map. right? So for every single page, we basically return something, right? We're going to use I for index. And now here we have the carousel item. So carousel item, pop in like so, boom. We have it looking like that. Okay, now in this case, I forgot to put a semicolon, parentheses. And then we have the card, okay? So we have a card, and inside of a card, we have an H2, which has the story.story, story.story. Now let's go ahead and have a look. Hit save, and we hit refresh, and let's see what we get, guys. So look at this, Robo's coding adventure, right? So we started to see the things that we actually wanted to see, which is great. This looks good so far. So we got the card there. Now inside of the card, we actually have card content. So card content. This card content is actually going to be consisting of the image. So this image, I'm going to save us a bit of time by popping in like so. The image is going to be from next image. And it's going to have the page. It's going to say alternative will be page 1 of 1, or like 2. Sorry, not 1 of 1. It'd be page 1 or page 2. You can even say page 1 or page 2 image. And then you got the styling. Okay. Now this allows us to do basically, I'll show you this. It's the same principle as earlier as order 1. So it just basically makes sure that it's shown in the right place. Float right is a really nice little touch that I've done. So that way it kind of, on a smaller screen, it floats into the text. So it warps around the text, which is awesome, right? So in this case, we've got the image here, but we also want to have the the sort of the text, right? So we're going to say page, page.text. Page.text, right? And now you can see, look at that. Oh, so nice, guys. So nice. It comes together really quick, right? And you see already, like, it wraps around on a mobile view. It goes ahead and shows above, right? And that was because of the styling that we've done. So card content, we're going to go ahead and say padding of 5. But on a extra large screen, it's going to be flex, right? So look at that. On the extra large screen, it's flexed. Right, WAT duplicate. Oh, sorry guys. Yep, nice spot. Look at that. I love that. I really love when someone goes ahead and is focused that much. That's how I know you're watching. That is awesome. I love that. It's so impressive when someone calls out something like that. So thank you. It shows me that you guys are dialed in, right? Text center, text gray, and this, you'll like this bit. I guarantee you that. Oh, that's like like the top of a book. But right now there's not enough padding, which I do not like. So for the carousel content, we've got that carousel item. I think the card itself needs a bit of styling, so we're going to give it a padding of 5. That looks a bit better. For the medium screens, a little bit more padding, and then we're going to give it a nice little border as well. All right, so in this case, boom, look at that. Oh, look at that, guys. All right, really nice. Yeah. And then obviously at the bottom, I want to have the page number. Okay, so underneath the card content, so underneath here, I'm going to have the page current of count, right? So in this case, the current and count we haven't set up, right? So we need to actually, how do I get the current and the count? Well, this is where we tap into the API and we can go ahead and get the state, right? So first up, we're going to create 2 pieces of state, 0 and 0 initialized with current and count. So we've got the setter functions, and then we have something called the use effect. Now the use effect runs when the component mounts as well as when the dependency array changes. So this dependency array, this means it runs once or whenever API changes, right? Use effect, I've got a whole video on the channel about a use effect. If you're watching the replay, it will pop up on the screen right now. Jay is going to hook that up so you guys will see it on the screen somewhere right now. You guys can go ahead and feel free to enjoy that if you want to learn about the use effect. And then if we say if there is no API, we simply return. Else we're going to say set the count to the API scroll snap list.length, right? So this is actually all of this is actually in the documentation itself, but I'm going to go ahead and just show you what you can do. So scroll snap list basically says like, okay, if you've got a bunch of different pages, then let's go to the home page to see. This one's got 2 pages. Look at that. So the scroll snap list.length is basically the number of snaps that you have. So in that case, the count will be 2. The current will be selected scroll snap. So in this case, 1 or 2, right? So in this case, +1. So remember, we count as 0 encoding. So 0 + 1, that way it means it won't say 0 and 1. It'll say 1 and 2 for pages. And then what we do is we say API on select. and we set the current whenever the user changes the, whenever they slide basically, right? So now you can see that page 1 of 2, page 2 of 2, awesome. All right, look at this, that page 1 of 2, page 2 of 2, really nice. And then obviously this has got something missing, right? I think it's the text, right? The text over here doesn't look like a book yet, right? So what we're gonna do is we're gonna make it font semi-bold, and look at that, already kind of cool, right? A bit more like child friendly, a bit more like thicker writing. Then we're gonna say text should be extra large. Okay, that's a bit more easier to read. The first letter, that's it. The first letter I want to go ahead and actually pop in text 3XL. So, that's got a nice little book feel to it. And then the white space pre-wrap. Now this is where basically it breaks up the white space accordingly. And that's much easier to read than just one massive block of text, right? So in this case, now you can see, look at that, guys. We've got a lovely book. Go to Explore Story Library, Robo's Coding Adventures, got 1 page. And obviously these buttons are disabled if they're not there, right? So in this case, you see like that one's disabled, whereas that one's clickable. And you can scroll back and forth. It is obviously responsive as well. So really, really nice. And think about it, guys. You can make a SaaS app of this, right? Where you can basically be like, children's storybooks, unlimited, curiosity, whatever you want to do. But the AI agent will just keep building unlimited storybooks. So this is basically a SaaS right here, right? Or maybe I should rename the video to build a StoryTeller AI SaaS, right? And obviously we can maybe do the payment part of it afterwards. So that's awesome. We're almost about to break 300 likes as well. Absolutely amazing stuff. If you enjoyed it so far, destroy that like button. We have one more step left, which is the toast notifications, right? So first up, to get a toast notification working, everything goes back to the layout file. Okay, so heading back to the layout file, Command P to open up that quick little search function that I use. If we go over to the Shadcn library and we go to Sona. Sona is this nice little kind of carousel that we go ahead and pop in. Install this, we just do the same thing as we've done before. Heading back over here, Command J, pop it in like so into our terminal, install that into our project. It will install the dependency, and the first thing that we need to do is go ahead and pop it in like so. Now the toaster we can pull in from components UI Sona, and you can see duration I've modified to make it a little bit longer because it was too short, and you can go ahead and say position. Now if it's on a mobile view, it actually takes up the full width. But if it's on a phone, on a big screen, I want it on the bottom left. So now we've got it inside of our app. To go ahead and use it, very simple actually. All we got to do is inside of Story Writer, we just need to go ahead and tell it when it needs to go ahead and activate. So what I've done here is I've made it so that when the run finished executes, right? So when run finished, so basically in our stream, when it all finishes off, so when the run finished event flows through, it will set run finished to true. So I'm going to make a use effect which basically taps into that state and basically says, okay, when run is finished, we are going to go ahead and do what we want to do, right? So if the run is finished, then I'm going to do the following. I want to toast, right? So in this case, toast. And basically I pull the toast from Sona directly, and I simply say success. I say story generated successfully. But what's even cooler, guys, I can add an action to this, right? So I can actually go and say the action, the clickable button can look something like this. So then I can go ahead and add an actual button in, which can have a router attached to it, right? So in this case, the button, and when we click the button, it will push the user to the stories, and we can style the button accordingly. Now the router, in order to go ahead and send the guys, the person clicking the button somewhere. What's up, Greg Peters? We've got LA in the house as well. Hope you're enjoying the stream. So in this case, we've got router. Let's go ahead and create a router equals use router. And you've got two options here. We've got next router, next navigation. Make sure when you're using Next.js 13 up, next navigation, right? And the next router is old. Next.js, next navigation is the way to go, all right? So in this case, boom, looks great. And now let's go ahead and test it out. So if we've done everything correctly, we should see after we generate a story, a toast notification pop up. And then the only thing I would recommend is the actual router itself. Yeah, we should add that as a dependency here because that is being used. So anything that you use here, variable or whatnot, should be a dependency here because the router might not be initialized and so forth. Now, the only thing I have messed up is I have a map somewhere where I'm not using the keys correctly, and it's bothering me. Where are we mapping? Let's have a little double check. We have a link tag here, stories.map. I'm not doing it here. That's my fault. The key, story.story. Here we're mapping through. That's different. Here we have a key. Yes. Here we have a key. Yes. Here we have a key. Yes. And I guess finally, this is all good. This is all good, and so forth. Yeah, we're good. So that's why I was getting that error message or warning message previously when I was messing with the app. All right, so let's go ahead and hide that one now so we can see the terminal here. Let's go ahead and render out our stories and check it out, guys. That we got the stories here. Boom, no errors in the console. That's perfect. I guess the final thing is, let's do a final run through, and if it all has gone well, we will see a toast notification, and then boom, it's done. I said 3 hours. It will be done in 3 hours. Let's go and check it out. All right, so here we have our AI agent from GPTScript, right? We're gonna do a 3-page book this time, right? And we're gonna test it a bit. We're gonna say, give me a story right now. I want a story from you guys right now, from a comment. And I'm gonna generate that story live on stream. So first person to get there with a child-friendly story, because it's a child AI storyteller, we'll go ahead and do this. And I'm gonna give a demo of the entire build as we do it. So quick little water break. As I'm finding a song, I'm gonna wait for someone to drop the comment. So let's see what's going on. Go, go, go. Who's gonna be first, guys? This is not enough. We need something that bit. Experiment. Yeah, this is pretty sick. All right, let's see who gets it first. In the meantime, I think someone's gonna come up with something crazy. It's 100 people watching right now. Someone will do it. Oh, okay. There we go. Okay. A person who is eating ice cream suddenly drops the ice cream, and something unexpected happens. Okay. So a person who is eating ice cream suddenly drops the ice cream, and something, okay, so a friendly onion who makes the people cry unintentionally. Oh, you know what? I'm sorry. I actually really like the second one. Right? I create a story about a friendly onion who makes the people cry unintentionally. All right, and then we could do the first one. But I do agree that Awesome KK came first. But we're gonna build this one, yeah. Friendly onion who makes people cry unintentionally, right? Generate story. This may say it's not child safe, right? But let's see if it does. So. Okay, done it. Look, story page 1. Once upon a time, village of Green Sprout, there lived a very friendly onion named Ozzy. Ozzy was not like any other onion you have met before. He was round and plump, blah, blah, blah. Cool, right? So you guys can go and see this. A mysterious box appears on my doorstep. It's puzzle to open it. I saw no one around. Okay, remember, it's a child-friendly book. All right, so in this case now, let's dive through what's going on very quickly at a high level. So if we go into our code right now, we can see inside of our stories, inside of our API, let's have a look at our API, App API Storybook, right? Now remember guys, this is GPTScript, an AI agent at full power right now, right? It's really powerful stuff. We got the tools that it can use, and then we essentially have passed in the story, pages, and path in our route. So remember, when we used our route, we passed in the story, pages, and path. So that's all we did, right? And we got that information from the front end, made a post request inside of our component, the story writer component over here, made a post request to the backend. The backend then went ahead and called GPTScript, right? It then went ahead and started a stream to the front end, which we're consuming, and that's what you're seeing here, okay? And now the really cool part is inside of StoryWriter, what we're then doing is we're taking all of the stream that comes through, and we're essentially going ahead and rendering it onto the page, right? We're setting the events, and then we're basically rendering the events onto the screen as follows, right? So this is how we get this real-time looking thing going on. But heading back into Storybook GPT, the really cool part about this build that differentiates it from a lot of the other things that I've done is that we didn't code it to go ahead and essentially use the completions API or go ahead and use DALL-E to generate the images. All I did was say, here's a bunch of tools. You go and decide what needs to be done based on what I told you in the beginning. And then I said, you can also use make directory if you want. And I gave it a path to say, ideally you'd put it inside this path, right? And essentially what I did is essentially done all of that, right? So do the following steps one after the other. without skipping any or ending early. If the story is inappropriate for children, abort the process and cite the reason why, and so forth, right? We've got all of these examples here. And then for every page of the story you got from Storywriter, do the following. For the content of the page, write it to the path text file. So in this case, we've given it the tool to be able to write files. It's doing that. And then we've got the cause story illustrator to illustrate it. Be sure to include the character descriptions, setting descriptions, and so forth, right? And then finally, download the illustration to a file at the following directory. And because it's doing all that, like you can see right now, it's actually downloading the DALL-E images and so forth. And then look at this, guys. Look, the story Aussie, look at that. Nice. Look, our toaster notifications working as well. Boom. Let's click it right there. Oh, we've got Aussie the friendly onion. So once upon a time, there you go. And if we click through, like, it's a friendly onion. And this is crazy because this was literally something that a comment from one of our subscribers went ahead and dropped. So Chirigut Raul, there you go, dude. There's your story about the friendly onion who makes people cry unintentionally. Right, so there you go. People start avoiding Aussie and listen to him. And what's crazy about it is that's actually a good kid's story, right? You could read that to a kid and they'll be like, wow, you know, that's pretty cool. So that's amazing. That's actually incredible. You guys now built that out, and there you go. And the awesome thing about that is, thanks for the story. Exactly. Thank you so much. And you can see here, guys, our UI, absolutely beautiful. I personally think this is such a nice addition to your portfolio, because not only is it showing that you can do all of the things, responsive design, Next.js, caching, for example, look how blazingly fast these will be ready, right? These are all being generated from the way we did it previously inside of here, right? So if we look in our stories ID, remember we did generate static params. These are being built at build time. So now if I was to go ahead and cut this and do npm run build, assuming I haven't got any errors, we will go ahead and actually build out the individual pages, and you'll see here it will build out all of the pages. So let's go ahead and see. So that compile successfully, linting, checking validity, so forth, and you should see it will build out. Look at this, guys. Look, it builds each page at build time. And then if we do npm run start, so we are running our build right now. So look how quick it is. Look, boom. Right, that one will serve a render, but look how quick that is. That is instant. That is instantly available. And because we're using the next link tag, it's prefetching as well. So that is your user's experience. Imagine you go to, kids ain't gonna wait around for an image. They're gonna be like, where's my story right now, right? So in this case, boom, fastest user experience ever. That's how you create a performant website with the power of something like an AI agent. That is damn sick. All right, that is awesome. We just broke 300 likes. That is absolutely incredible. Awesome stuff, guys. Oh, look at this. Look, run npm I sharp. Strongly recommended. Okay, so you could run that and Next.js will automatically use it for image optimization. Let's do that right now. npm I sharp. Now, I do want to mention this is normal to deploy this as well, right? So deployment, very simple as well. All you would have to do is run the Vercel command. Go ahead and set the I can run you through it, right? But I'm not gonna actually deploy it to live for a couple of reasons. I don't want everyone to spam it as well, but and kill my API key. But secondly, as well, you would have to increase your Vercel plan to Pro, because the API endpoint that we've gone ahead and created, this one right here, it keeps a connection open. And on the free plan of Vercel, if you go over the 10-second timer with any endpoint, you need to upgrade to Pro. So what you could do is you could, as a challenge, go ahead and make this something like a cloud function, and then go ahead and deploy it, and then have your front end reach out to your cloud function and then deploy it. That's kind of a free way to do it as well. All right, Kamal says a GitHub link please to the project. Yes, the GitHub link, you either build along with me today and work for it, or you can get it inside the GitHub repo alongside other 60 of my other builds, or you can join 0 to Full Stack Hero and a platinum member, and above you get the GitHub repo as part of the package, right? So that's the way to go. You get mentorship calls with me every single week. That's the way I recommend to do things, right? So at this point now, we've installed the packages. That's all good. So if we want to deploy this, you simply do Vercel. You go ahead and you simply log into your Vercel. I've automatically gone ahead and set all my stuff up. This will fail initially, but I want to show you my little tactic to this. So what you would do is you would go ahead and do this, modify the settings. No. So you click on the inspect that it gives us. Cool. And then you want to go over to click the top link, and you're going to click on settings, environment variables. Now, what I would recommend here, as I'm not going to show you my key, but if you went into here, environment local, click it, copy the contents. So I'm copying the contents of my environment variables. And then you basically come here and you paste. So no joke, you just click paste, right? So command V. So I'm going to do that right now, command V. And now I'm just going to hide some of the key. So there you go. So I've hidden most of the key. So now you do that and you click save. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to replace the rest of the key, and then I'm going to hit save. Boom. And now what you'll find is it goes ahead and adds in the thing, the variable. And what you can do is you can cut that, do Vercel again. And the thing is, guys, is that this will actually go ahead and deploy it now, but it won't work because it will time out. And the reason being is it will load the page and everything. However, and it will even have the test stories. However, when you try to generate a story, the cloud function that is ran for the route is going to fail because it exceeds 10 seconds. So in order to get it working, all you would have to do is basically upgrade your hobby plan to pro. That's all you need to do, is upgrade the hobby plan to pro, and you can go ahead and do that. I think we even have a Vercel affiliate link that we can actually drop in the chat as well if you ever do that, which will help things out. So I think we maybe we can add that as a comment somewhere, or we'll add that to description in future builds. But yeah, guys, that's pretty much as simple as it gets, right? That, if you go ahead and do that, you'll go ahead and build this application right now. I recommend everyone builds this one. It's actually incredibly powerful. GPTScript, league of its own in terms of AI agents. Honestly, you can go ahead and combine different tools together and use AI in a way that honestly I haven't seen before. This is not running, that's why it's freaking out. Let's go ahead and do cut npm run dev. So let's go ahead and do a little brief recap of today's build. So boom, let's go ahead and jump into it, guys. This is today's build. This has been your StoryTeller AI. Absolutely awesome stuff. German Sam goes, bro, I see you are not from this planet. Well done, you make me feel better. Now back to work. Amazing stuff, dude. This has been the StoryTeller AI program. Everything is built with Next.js 14. We're using GPTScript, which is using all sorts of different tools. We've got tools that you can go ahead and search from. It's got system tools, all this cool stuff. You can go ahead and check it out in the description. As I mentioned before, the script that we ended up using today, the actual Storybook GPT script, this one right here, guys, you can go ahead and get from for free, this script right here, by going ahead and going to the link in the description. Go ahead, fill out your name and email, and then we will send it to you inside of an email. So all you need to do is go ahead and do that. You'll get this entire build on your machine. Not the entire build, you get the Storybook GPT. If you want the entire code, it has been pushed already to the GitHub repo. Again, that link is in the description, or you can work for it. So it's free. So it's either work for it or you go ahead and do it. Now, I just want to give a little demo one more time. Let's go ahead and do write a story about a flying monkey, right? Generate the story, boom. And now you can see streaming in action, boom. This is streaming in action, working the way that we intended it. Look at that, it's just amazing. Now, whether or not you decide to use this exact application, whether or not you expect to go ahead and use streaming in any other capacity, now you know how to actually implement streaming. I'll probably create a dedicated video on it if you guys are interested, because I think that will help you all out. But otherwise, it's been your boy Papa React, and this is the build. I want to mention as well, if at any point you thought, whoa, this stuff went over my head, guys, this is what Zero to Full Stack Hero is all about. Our course, our absolutely incredible community. It's not just a course like Udemy courses or anything else. This is where the community comes together. We've got over 1,000 students and members inside right now. We get weekly live coaching calls with me, right? So there's no other course that does that. And also all the other courses, they're outdated, guys. They get outdated so fast. So definitely go ahead and check it out. We've got all the greatest tech in here. And honestly, I'm not joking, guys. I've worked with every big company. Like, no, I'm not every big company, but I've worked with a ton of big companies now. Gathered the knowledge from all of these guys and put it together in one place. And this is where I can really drive hard with the mentorship and teach you guys every single thing I know, whether you're an absolute beginner to going ahead and landing your first client, making money. Go ahead and check out papareact.com/course and for yourself, and you can go ahead and actually check out this video here, which will give you a nice little sneak peek as to some of our students themselves. Or if you head over to papareact.com and you look at the top, you will see the reviews over here. Simply go to papareact.com/testimonials, and guys, you'll see literally, we've got hundreds of testimonials there, but these are all students inside of our course who are absolutely crushing it, absolutely succeeding, and doing what they do best, which is enjoying the development process. The problem with development nowadays is that people are getting scared, they're getting uneducated, or they're getting miseducated, or whatever the word is. Basically, you're getting told the wrong thing. You're getting told that AI is going to take over. No, AI is making you a way better developer. Harness the power of it, use it to your advantage, and learn how you can be someone like some of my students over here and absolutely crush it. This is just a prime example. This list goes on and on. You can see for yourself at papareact.com/testimonials. Our students crush it. You can crush it too. All you need to do is head over to papareact.com/course and join Zero to Full Stack Hero. And yeah, I will see you guys in there, right? That's what I want to make sure that if you are ready to take your education that next level bit serious, you go and check it out, right? But otherwise, guys, this has been your boy Sunny. I'm gonna wrap up the only way we know how. I just done the theme song, so I guess we need to find another song. I had another song, right, and I'm trying to find it where it was. I don't know if it's gonna be here or not, but let's see it. I want to see. But anyway, yeah, I think. Oh yeah, here we go. Any OG who's still watching right now, we just broke 300 likes as well. Yeah, smash the like button, subscribe if you haven't already, and yeah, I think that's all I can say at this point, right? I think we're pretty much done at this point. The code is already pushed, everything is already in the GitHub repo, and I'm dropping more and more content just like this. My promise to you guys, 2 videos a week, every single week. Consistency. My focus now is consistency. 2 videos every single week. This video will be time-stamped afterwards, so you can feel free to watch it and enjoy it. 4K, all that good stuff. Quality is coming out. We've got all of our amazing viewers still watching right now. Thank you for tuning in. It's been your boy Papa React with today's build, the StoryTeller AI. I hope you've enjoyed it. AI agents for the win. Thank you so much, guys. I'll see you in the next one. Peace.